September 8th, 2025, regular meeting of the Pueblo West Metropolitan District to order. Roll call.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Bree Mignoni, District Clerk. Director Pasternak.
Here.
Director Potter.
Here.
Director Roberts.
Present.
Vice President Axworthy.
Here.
And President Vickers.
Present.
Everyone is present.
All right, entertain a motion for the approval of agenda, unless somebody has any reservations.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as it stands.
A second?
A motion seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Invocation by Mr. Robert Hernandez of the Pueblo West Fire Department.
Good evening, everyone. You bow your heads with me, please. Although we come before you tonight with a lot of things on tonight's agenda and for the future of this metropolitan district, I pray, Lord, that the path you have for us, that you are the one who lights it and guides us through it. I pray that as we go through this meeting, that every decision made for the future, that you will let us all come in agreement at some point. I know that there are changes that are waiting to be made, but I pray, Lord, that any changes will be for the better, and anything that should not be changed will not be changed. So tonight I pray for peace, understanding, and patience upon the board and everyone present, that if need be, we will take a step back, take a breath, and think about whatever is being discussed at that time. We thank you and we praise you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and remind you to please remove your hats. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have public comments.
We do have one public comment. This one comes from Mr. Joe Mahaney, 159 West Mangram Court, in the topic regarding thistle infestation on Purcell and Highway 50 Southwest. Would you like to come up, Joe?
I've been concerned for several years about thistle infestment in Pueblo West generally. And Harry Singleton and I have been on a crusade to try to eliminate as much of it as we can when we find it. Occasionally we take our own spraying equipment and trespass on people's property and spray it because it is a noxious weed under the state of Colorado. The homeowners or the property owners are supposed to eradicate it. If not, the county is supposed to eradicate it. Be that as it may, we found one patch that's at the corner of Highway 50 and Purcell on the southwest corner, north of a little bank that sits in there. Wendy's, Dairy Queen, several businesses are in the proximity. It's a big patch, and it shows what happens when you let noxious weeds get out of control. There's a patch in there of pure musk thistle that's a tenth of an acre, which doesn't sound like much. A lot of people's lots are bigger than a tenth of an acre. But when you see the density of those plants, and if they go to seed, there's enough to infestate the whole county 100 times over. Anyway, we got them killed, hand sprayed them, but now they're standing armpit high and dense as lawn grass, and they're all dead, and it's a fire hazard. I'm asking the district, there seems to be some problem on who owns that particular property. State Highway says, well, it's probably the district. The district says it's probably the state highway. The bank says it's not ours. So nobody wants to do anything about it. Now, Carol Cosby, our Parks Director, has been out there with some of her people, she's helped out. I think somebody sprayed it one time with a truck, but they didn't get much of it. And anyway, but tonight I'd like to ask that the district, cooperate with the fire department. I even went down and tried to apply for a burning permit with the idea of burning it off before the seeds get scattered any further. You can't apply for a burning permit on somebody else's property. Citizens of Pueblo West can't apply for a burning permit on district property. The district can, however, since they're the ones that grant the burning permits through the fire department. So anyway, it looks like to me it would be an easy project to have one of the fire trucks with a tank go out there and burn that off at a time when it can safely be done before everything else dries up around it and it gets to be a real fire hazard that could get out of control. So can we please do something? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Something we can look into?
I think so. We'll look at, see whose property it is. If it was ours, obviously, take care of it.
Okay.
If it's not, then if we can't successfully coordinate with whoever owns the property, then it might be a question of the vegetative fuels.
Okay.
Figure out how to process it.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mahaney.
Thanks, Joe.
Director's comments. Mr. Pasternak?
Nothing right now.
Mr. Potter?
I'm good to go. Thank you.
Mr. Roberts?
I want to thank everybody for participating with the last board meeting in my absence, and I enjoyed myself down in South Carolina with my family, and it was a safe trip. Sorry for my absence, but it was pre-planned prior to the election. So, thank you very much.
Mr. Ashworthy?
No comment.
And I have none. Okay, approval of the consent agenda. Anybody have anything that they want removed?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
Second.
We have a motion seconded to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 1, contract for purchase of district property. Approval of consent agenda?
That's on consent. Yeah, that's consent agenda.
Oh, sorry. That's the consent agenda. My mistake. Presentations. 2026 presentation on personnel changes.
Good evening, President Vickers, Vice President Axworthy, Pueblo West Board. This evening I am here to present some information regarding the 2026 budget and to show you the personnel highlights that we are working on right now. In 2026, we anticipate a salary increase based on the Denver Aurora Lakewood Consumer Price Index, and that increase is 2.2% for 2026. I was asked to look at the Colorado Springs Index, and I did not find a consumer price index for Colorado Springs, but I did find one for Pueblo, and Pueblo's CPI for July was 2.4. Okay.
Thank you.
On the next slide, we talk about the individual positions within the district. And on this slide, you can see what was budgeted in 2025, any increases or decreases, and then how we would arrive at the 2026 full-time employee equivalents, FTEs. In the administration department, 2025 budget had 4 positions. We still have 4 positions, no change. Business administration, no change. Community and neighborhood development, there is no change. In the finance department, we are requesting the addition of a senior accountant. The fire general fund, they are actually eliminating a deputy fire chief, and they would like to add an EMS administration manager. In the fire sales tax fund, there is 6A. There are no changes to staff in that area. Human resources, there is no change. Operational support services, they would like to add a stormwater coordinator, and they did transfer 2 utilities maintenance technicians to the utilities department. Parks and Recreation, technically there is no change, but we will need to add temporary workers that are being reclassified from contract labor to employees per our state unemployment audit that was concluded on August 14th of 2025. Wastewater, they have a change of a +3, which basically is they are asking for the addition of a plant operator. They are transferring 2 utilities maintenance technicians from operational support. They will eliminate utility maintenance technician once that technician comes over to their department, and then add a utility maintenance supervisor. Okay.
I have a question, Karen.
Yeah.
So the 2 utility maintenance technicians that are transferring, are they transferring over to wastewater, water and wastewater?
Their water, wastewater, they're going to be split.
Okay. But they're, what I'm getting at, they're going from the general fund to wastewater, or to the
Yes.
enterprise fund?
That is,
Technically correct, because they were allocated based on our percentages of 32% general fund, 49 water, and then it was 19 to wastewater. So now they're going to be split, I think 50-50 between water and wastewater.
I'll double check just to confirm. As I recall, the utilities maintenance techs 2024, before this year, were on the water wastewater side. I think we did an administrative change, bringing them over to report to the operational support, to be able to just align with different facility and maintenance program and services. Don't recall their who was paying them and how they're being paid had changed. So I'll double
Yes.
check.
Jeffrey had realigned all of the distributions back then, and then we confirmed today how he's going to allocate
Going
those
forward.
two. Yeah.
So they'll be on the utility side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
But this year they were, do you remember if they were still on the utility side?
In 2025?
Yes.
No, they were allocated. They were allocated like most general
So
fund.
partially general fund, partially enterprise fund?
Yes. Yeah.
And you still haven't, don't have an idea of how many temporary employees are going to be added to?
I'm tracking 37.
Okay.
Okay.
And can we get what impact that has to the budget with the insurance and, or the, the additional
Taxes and-
taxes and self-employment tax? Because we pay half of it, right?
We just paid the employer's portion of,
Right.
yeah,
Half of the health.
FICA and
FICA.
Medicare, or Medicare and Social Security.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, in conclusion, the next slide. We are tracking a 2.2% salary increase. The budget will include the addition of 3 FTE, which is full-time equivalents. So we've got 145 full-time positions, 1 part-time position, and 21 seasonal with lifeguards. And then we will add the temporary as soon as we're done analyzing that data.
The 3 positions, though, it's really a net gain of 1, right? Because 2 of them are just being transferred.
It's a net gain of 3. I asked for 1 in my department. Sean's asking for a stormwater, and then utilities is asking for an additional C&D plant operator.
Oh, okay.
So yes, 3 fully new ones. There
Okay.
are some moves, or
Yeah.
in like the fire department's case, they're eliminating 1 position, asking for another. It does have to be a less of a pay scale too, so there's a probably net loss on cost of that too. But the 3 new positions, stormwater, the finance one, and the plant operator.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
In regards to the temporary employees, we got an explanation Friday during the work session. Could you explain how that came about to the public?
Sure.
So that way they have an understanding of what we're discussing?
Sure. We were lucky enough to get our name picked from the State Unemployment Audit Lottery. So they audited 2023, and we provided all of the payroll data and contract labor data. And when they analyzed all of the people that were paid as contract labor, some they agreed with, and then the rest of them they said, no, they're really employees. You need to reclassify them.
And can you explain to the public what the cause and effect would be to our operation, our budget?
Right now, I'm not 100% sure, but basically it's a movement from contract labor up to salaries because we already budgeted for contract labor.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to introduction of new employees. Hi, Ms. Jessica Pankey, our Human Resources Director.
All right. Good evening, President Vickers, fellow members of the Pueblo West Board. I am here to introduce those that were hired last month. So I have a picture for you up there right now. That is going to be Louis Vigil. You did see him when we did our HR presentation, but this is his official introduction. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here tonight, but he did start with us on August 11th. He comes to us with a bachelor's degree from CSU, and that is in family studies and human development. He has over 5 years of experience in human resources, and most recently he worked for GLV Fencing and Handyman as an HR and operations coordinator. The second one I'm going to introduce to you tonight is Mr. Chuck Roldan. He's going to wave from back there, running everything for everybody. He was hired on August 5th as our IT Analyst 1. Chuck comes to us with an associate's degree from PCC in General Studies and has over 5 years of experience in IT. And most recently, he worked for D70 as an IT specialist. So we welcome them both to this team, and we're very excited to have them.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica.
It takes us on to action items. Number 1, a resolution regarding a spurious recorded document against real property located in Tract 310. And that will be by Mr. Sean Winters.
Good evening, President Vickers, members of the board. Tonight before you is an action item, a resolution regarding a spurious recorded document against real property located in Tract 310, Pueblo West. We have discussed this issue previously. Essentially, there was a petition to eliminate, terminate, or delete the declaration of reservations in Tract 310. After staff and general counsel review, we questioned many of the signatures that were on that document, and we believe that document to be spurious. So we're asking for a resolution to be approved to negate and consider that document be of no legal effect. We would also record that document down at the Pueblo County Clerk and Recorder's Office so that the public would be fully aware of that document. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
No.
I have one, at least. So where is Tract 310?
A lot of Tract 310 is on West McCulloch between Kathmandu's General Store and New Fire Station 2 back to the west.
Okay.
A lot of it is vacant at this point in time.
Is a majority of it district-owned property or
No.
private?
Privately owned.
So
There are some district properties, I think, in there, but that they tend to be the exception, not the rule.
So the implications of this is it returns it back to authority of COA?
That is
Is that
correct.
correct? Is that it? That's all I have.
I'd like to make a motion to pass the resolution regarding spurious recorded document against the real property located in Tract 310 in Pueblo West.
Second. I have a motion seconded to approve the resolution regarding the spurious document against real property at Tract 310. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Next is the award of the IFB Purcell Boulevard Trail. Carol Cosby, Parks and Recreation Director.
Good evening, President Vickers, members of the board. Tonight before you is a resolution, IFB-2025-CP-2505 regarding the Purcell Boulevard Trail. We're pleased to announce that the award for this construction project, the lowest bidder was Rock M Inc. This trail is, just a little background, is 2.3 mile trail. It's paved and it runs along the west side of Purcell Boulevard. And it begins at the east-west trail. It's our existing trail going south up to Liberty Point Overlook. This project proposes that the development will be in off-street. It'll be an off-street trail in district parcels or the right-of-way by the county. So tonight, we're hoping that the board will approve this resolution so that we can move forward with construction on this trail. Are there any questions?
Just a refresher, that's all grant money?
This is Fed grant. This is a federal grant, and it's an 80-20 match.
Right.
So
okay.
the total of the grant actually is $1,342,452. $1,342,452.31. 20% match that we have budgeted is $338,000 approximately for this project. And that would be coming out of our Conservation Trust Fund budget.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution awarding the IFB 2025 CP 2505 Purcell Boulevard Trail TAP M087-014 to Rock M Inc.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion seconded to award the IFB-2025-CP-2505 Purcell Boulevard Trail to Rock Inc. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Thank you. Next is the award of the IFB 2025-WA-2410 Cyclone Trail Well Line. I believe this is Kevin Love?
Yes, sir. Good evening, President Vickers, members of the board. Kevin Love, Deputy Director of Utility Operations. The subject matter is the award of IFB 2025 Whiskey Alpha 2410, which is the Cyclone Trail Well Line. The proposed project will include replacing approximately 5,450 linear feet of 8-inch HDPE mainline pipe and approximately 680 linear feet of 3-inch HDPE pipeline for well number 1. This also includes valves from the main line, repurposing well number 1 wellhead with new pitless adapter, also including bolts, plugs, magnetic flow meter, as well as new electronic SCADA pack, and relocating of existing controllers for that panel. The scope of work does involve some manholes, valves, tie-ins, and other appurtenances, as well as some groundwork, earthwork, and additional components necessary to complete this function. The previous Amount funded for the 2025 budget was $1,500,000. The lowest and most responsive bidder was $1,408,006. We would like to include a 10% contingency of $140,800.60 to the budget, not to the contract. The recommendation is that we give the contract to Pratt Construction in the amount of $1,408,006.
Any questions?
Does this excavation or anything have, is it going to be crossing any paved roads or paved trails, or are there going to be,
will.
are there going to be any cuts?
So the project consists of horizontal directional drilling to avoid that particular instance. There will be some pavement on the trail that will be repaired if cut as per to the contract.
And that's in the contract, that's going to be reclaimed and repaired, okay, thank you.
The $1,408,000 is the contract amount. That's going to be the contracted award. The contingency is not necessarily going to be fully utilized, right?
Correct.
Or none at all if we're lucky.
Yes.
Okay.
Who reviews the statement of qualifications
That
and
would be
subcontractors?
procurement, I believe.
Okay.
And that's 90 days.
I believe so, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution awarding IFB WA 2410.
I second the motion
Motion
for
second.
approval.
I have a motion second to approve the resolution for IFB-2025-WA-2410, the Cyclone Trail well line. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
sir.
Next, we're into discussion items, I believe. Rules and regulations update by Ms. Katrina.
Okay, Katrina Peter, Chief Administrative Officer. Before you, Board, is a resolution to approve this amended revised rules and regulations. If you recall, back in April of this year, we did a very comprehensive update to the rules and regulations. What we discovered soon after is that there was one component that was missing from those revisions, and there was a request by the board to add rules in regards to election signage on district property zoned non-public. So we did go ahead and make those amendments to the rules and regulations, and that document is attached to your packet, as well as a resolution that is prepared if the board decides to move it to action, or you can take your time and review the material before we bring it back to you for the next board meeting. But within the revisions is just two main components. One is the election signage, which basically stipulates that the board is authorizing campaign signs to go on district property that is non-zoned or that is not zoned public land. And then it has to abide by specific rules outlined by the board. We did take a stab at what those rules may look like based on your feedback previously, and we are open to any further feedback. And then the second component of it is rules and regulations tied to our water conservation efforts. That was actually outlined in a 2022 resolution that was approved by the board, so it's still in place, but we just wanted to codify it within this updated rules and regulations document. So I have Bree Magnoni here to speak in regards to the election signage, if there's any questions, feedback, any changes that the board would like to propose. And then I have Catherine, Clough, I was going to butcher your last name, to speak on the water conservation.
Okay, Bree, you want to give us the highlights on the signage?
Yes, so the signage for the elections, as far as what you all had asked for, is we just did, we separated it by general election, election signage, and then what we did underneath that is that we want to follow that the district complies with the provisions of the Colorado Local Government Code, and then we've made sure to put the link in there just because it's long and winded. That way people, when they go to look at it, would have an idea of what those codes look like. But also the election signage needs to be pursuant and adopted by not only you all as the Pueblo West Metro District Board, but in designated areas only. They can only be placed in locations expressly designated by the district to ensure safety, accessibility, and uniformity. Compliance with the Pueblo County regulations. All signs must conform to the size, placement, timing restrictions, establishment under the Pueblo County election sign guidelines. And then there needs to be temporary placement. Obviously, these can't stay up forever. So signs are permitted only for the duration allowed under the county election rules and must be removed within the required time frame following the election. Then the prohibited location signage is not permitted inside district facilities, attached to buildings and right-of-ways, or in any location that possesses a safety hazard or interferes with district operations, of course. And then lastly, if there's any additional questions or information, we would also like to guide everybody to the Colorado Department of Local Affairs website, just because that's where a lot of the extra guidelines comes on top of the Pueblo County guidelines that we follow, as well as what our Pueblo West Metro District Board decides.
And the timeframe is 30 days prior, is that, or?
It's 90 days prior, and then it's 20 days following the
Following,
election.
okay, gotcha.
Correct.
Are we going to require they check with the district or get a permission from the district to do it? Or at least know where district properties are?
So I think that with your guys' guidance as far as what you would like us to propose, I'm sure we could come up with some kind of sheet or information sheet that when people are running for an election, they would know where those locations are or what to avoid, what is okay, what's not okay, because I think otherwise people will just take it upon themselves to do so. So that would be the guidance for the board to decide, but that would be my suggestion and recommendation.
I think that's a good idea to have some kind of sheet you can hand out to them.
Yeah.
And those sheets would go out at the same time of them turning in a nomination?
Correct.
Okay.
We could update this rules and regulations document to reflect that the board has to consent through a formal application process, whatever is at the direction of the board.
Okay.
Do you guys want a formal application process for that, or just guidance from?
This is completely up to your discretion of what you all would prefer. If you'd like this to go into the guidelines, we can do that, then have the information sheet and they just state where they're going to be placing it maybe. It could be as part of the application process of where they propose to place. That way we know that they're following the correct guidelines. And if we then realize that there's an issue, then we could say, these are okay, this isn't okay, based off of the proposed guidelines that we have here in the bylaws and
So this is a
regulations.
discussion item, right?
It is, but we do have a resolution prepared for you if you'd like to move it into action, unless you'd like us to update items based off of your discussion and bring it back to the next board meeting.
You want to put it on the next agenda?
Give you guys time to think about it. And things. Up to you.
Are we going to put the size of the signage on here, or is that already implemented by
That's the
county?
county code, yeah.
County
Yeah.
code already? Okay, I just want to make sure. What was it? I think, personally, I'm thinking that you give the people the opportunity to do the right thing, and then maybe future, if they're not doing the right thing, then we add something in there saying, hey, because, I don't know, I think we've got a pretty good layout here that's been done by our staff. I think, again, if you give the people the opportunity to show that they're willing to do the right thing, and then if they don't, then we have to take it to the next measure. That's the way I look at it.
So I guess the question is, do we want to have like a map with some demographics on there for where they can place them and stuff, so.
Oh, yeah,
Is that
yeah.
something we want to develop amongst ourselves and then add that, so that way,
Well, that's district-owned property, correct? We're talking about property that is listed for sale,
Right.
not facility
Not
property.
facility.
Correct.
So we're not gonna, I wouldn't assume that we would pick where they could put them.
No, what we
As
would
long as
ask is maybe a part of the application process, they state where they're proposing to put signs, so we make sure they're following the correct guidelines that
Right.
everyone has stipulated here. Maybe we just add an extra line that says, where would you like to place your signage just to ensure we're following proper guidelines?
That sounds good.
Where, what
that's
location?
You guys-
Complicated.
You guys want to make it
That's
an action
complicated.
item?
I mean, think about when you guys decided to run for the board or were asked to run for the board. I mean, there's a lot of reading in the background about what's legal, what's not. I don't know if we need an application process to move forward. I think a simple handout would suffice.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
I wouldn't make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Do you guys want to act on it tonight?
Somebody can make a motion.
The only other piece is I just want to make sure that the board understands that the provisions within the rules and regulations is not just this Title 16 for the election, general election and election signage. There's also the water conservation piece, but again, that part is already active. It was approved by board resolution in 2022, but it has been added into this rules and regulations to reflect that. So if you have any questions on that particular component, Catherine can help answer those questions.
Let's hear it.
So bottom line is, right, in 2022, our utilities department worked very hard to update our rules and regulations. It was approved by the board in 2022. It inadvertently, when all the changes were happening with this new one in April, large section regarding peak season watering hours and just fine tuning things was eliminated. So when I saw it and it was published on the site, I was like, uh-oh. So we just have gone back and made sure that what was approved originally in 2022 is now actually in this document.
Okay, and that's the peak season. Can you, just for a quick synopsis for the public, tell us what we're adding
Peak
back?
seasons is going to be your basic understanding that you should not be watering between the hours of 10 and 6. It's the hottest part of the day. Water up to 3 days a week. Don't be watering in the rain. Turn off your irrigation when it's windy. Very basic things, but most districts around Colorado do that. Thank you. And then from there, it was just some slight updates that I know Jeffrey had done in regard to what our 2-year water supply looked like and things like that. So it's just wording, but again, all of that was approved in 2022. It just didn't make it into this last update.
Thank you.
Sure.
Board, any questions, comments?
I'm comfortable with moving forward and making it an action item and just making this happen. Anybody?
Make a motion.
I make a motion to implement rules and regulations update per Article 1, rules and regulations of general election signage and election signage, and where to place them, and the proper procedures to go about placing them in district property, and also the water, wastewater rules and regulations that were implemented back in 2022.
I'll second the motion of Resolution 2022 to 2023. A resolution adopting the updated water and wastewater rules and regulations, Pueblo West Metro District.
A motion second to update the rules and regulations for Pueblo West Metropolitan District, including the water and also election signage. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is procedures for land sales under negotiation by Mr. Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration.
Good evening, President Vickers, members of the board. Matt Lund, Director of Business Administration. Returning to a discussion we began on Friday's work session about procedures for land sales under negotiation. The topic was when we are engaged in a negotiation with a developer and they are considering investing into various surveys or studies, they have come to us in the past asking if we are entertaining other offers for that land, or if we are doing anything to hold that for them, or if we have any sort of first right of refusal process for them. On our Friday work session, the direction of the board and the discussion lended itself towards encouraging developers to pursue the contract phase, and then they can use the window of due diligence at that time to check all their boxes they might want to see. But outside of that, the district will preserve in its best interest to entertain any offers that come in outside of being under contract. So that is what we discussed on Friday. Director Axworthy, if you have any specific questions for more clarification, please let me know. Or if any other questions came from the board over the weekend, I'm happy to answer those as well.
Board?
I just sort of added to my notes and whatnot. I thought what Carl's verbiage was for the letter of intent was good, essentially saying thank you for your interest. And then what I came up with was just a general sort of baseline script. Thank you for your interest. The district welcomes proposals and encourages formal offers using the Colorado Real Estate Commission approved contract to buy and sell real estate. Those are able to be obtained online for free. And I think that by having potential developers, investors, whoever, utilize that contract specifically, it limits mostly Carl's job to just look at that specific contract, which doesn't change. That way, Carl and his staff aren't looking at 20 different variations of contracts from different states and blah, blah, blah. Just keep it as standardized as possible. And then maybe to make it easier even, you could put a link to that, the Colorado Real Estate Commission's website with their contracts on there so that they can easily obtain them. That's my general thoughts. I think the LOIs just create a lot of ambiguity. What they're writing in the letter of intent, and then it just gums it up. What they're writing is something that we're interpreting differently, and it's non-binding anyway, and it's just, I think it just can cause a lot of issues. So that's my suggestion.
I think it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. They're going to know straightforward that we appreciate their letter of intent, but we're obligated to any contract that comes forward. Just short and sweet. Yeah.
Obligated to entertain any contract, not saying that you will accept every contract you see, yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, Carl.
I think that's a terrific idea. The only thing that I would note is over the last couple of years, there have been several situations where, particularly with out-of-state purchasers, we have had contracts submitted to us that are on forms other than the Real Estate Commission approved forms. We can request that they put them on Colorado forms. Actually, there is a lot to be said for asking them to do that because it takes away the ambiguity of whose law controls, Colorado or some other state. So I think it's a good idea.
All right.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
So I was just going to clarify, so we are not moving away from the LOI as a form of a tool to keep property.
Well, they never were.
Right.
So we're clarifying that.
Okay.
I do think from deals I've seen come to us here and there, an LOI can be a useful tool in communicating intent for our complicated proposals and deals, or to get the attention of the board earlier in the process. We're just going to be more deliberate about when we encourage those and make sure, which we've been doing, to let people know that an LOI is not binding, doesn't hold anything for anybody. It's
Doesn't
just
supersede, I mean, if we get another contract, if we get somebody that wants to buy that exact piece of property, we go where the contract is. Is that what?
You go with where you
where
approve
we
the
want
contract.
the contract
Yes.
to go.
If you get another contract while you have an LOI and you don't like that contract, obviously
Right.
you don't have to take, right.
But we're not bound by.
There's nothing
LOI.
is held until it's under contract.
Thank you.
Is the direction we've got, yep.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is follow-up discussion on planning and designing the aquatic center for indoor pool presented by Christian Hine and District Manager Carol Cosby, Director of Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Christian J. Hine, District Manager. So tonight wanted to have a discussion following the last strategic discussion at the previous Board of Directors meeting. Talked about alternative design and had discussion around what could be the potential future for the aquatic center. At that time, I think there was a question asking me what would the next steps be. At first, I thought we would go formally into the site selection. However, seeing the alternative design, seeing a little bit of the conversation, I actually thought it would probably be good to revisit with the board, both to share information about the history of the aquatic center and how it has come to where it is today, and also to get the board to discuss, either provide instruction and direction or leave what's in place for how to move forward. Because just going back through the history, the original Tabor timeout that came from 2016's ballot initiative offered to not increase any funding or any tax, but preserve or reserve the additional that could be from Tabor to be able to provide that funding for community pool and aquatic center. And there is verbiage specific to that, which is the sole purpose of funding the design, construction, maintenance, or lease of a community pool and aquatic facility. And that, over a series of board, staff, public discussions, led to ultimately a contract in 2021 being approved for what was intended to be an 18,000 square foot aquatic facility for about $9 million as the budget. And that has then, after time, recognizing both Tabor by itself and even with the MJXIs not keeping up once it was complete to project to that cost, brought questions of how, if that was still the vision of the board, if that was still the goal to be able to complete that project, to be able to get to the funding available for that. So staff and previous boards, the Aquatic Center Committee, have been working towards that. It wasn't until recently, with multiple different, mostly unrelated initiatives that freed up funding from the general fund, made us more sustainable as a district, have allowed us to be able to prioritize it, and now we're seeing the Aquatic Center within our strategic plan, seeing it being able to be funded at the projected cost, and seeing that facility only taking a phase 1 reduction to show us doing the indoor pool first, with the plans to potentially expand in the future. And with that, I know that has come into conversation with the board members. It's obviously come into conversation with the public. At the last one, President Vickers, you were gracious enough and did some homework and looked at what are some alternative designs and options that you could propose for the board to be able to consider and discuss that might come in significantly less, and should that be something that the board prioritizes depending on what funding is available for other projects as well. So that whole conversation culminated in, we want to make sure that we check in with the board and understand if we're still moving along with that, because that has previously been the guidance, that larger facility, the thinking of it more regionally based to be able to provide something that will, whether it helps for economic development, whether it just helps for something that the region doesn't have and spurs on more recreational activities and sees a pretty, I think, hopefully modest but good facility that will help provide something that the region doesn't have. Still moving along on that direction, even if it's taken us time? Or has there been a reimagining of what this project should look like? And I will obviously open up for conversation, but I think the two main questions we really want to ask the board. One, what is the board's long-term vision for the Aquatic Center indoor pool? Is it an indoor pool with no plans for expansion or growth, or an aquatic facility to serve the regional community and facilitate growth? And the second question is, what is the board's funding priority? Is it the lowest cost possible to preserve funding for any future projects? Or is it a set budget intended to achieve the most value within that budget, knowing it's available? And I think those two questions, knowing what the vision is, and that just the two I read off don't have to be the only options, and understanding the funding priority can help guide staff when it comes to making the decisions. Right now, we do have a contract for that design. We have been progressing on it, and we've been moving forward with that. So depending on what that conversation plays out, what that direction is, another question might come up of how do we continue working either with that designer or what do we do next? So I'll turn it over in case Carol or Kurt, we're excited to talk, have anything to add.
She looks thrilled.
Oh, no, you hit it. That's great. I was just seeing what the board had for feedback.
Fair. And the only other thing I'll add is there is at least a couple documents available for you to read, including what we've analyzed as far as our sustainability analysis when it comes to the operating costs for the pool, the history, the Tabor timeout language, the current designs, everything that comes with the contract. And President Vickers, your design, your alternative design was attached as well. So all that is part of the public packet, so that way everybody has that information to be able to discuss.
Okay.
So question one, the long-term vision or version?
Yeah.
What are your two options? No expansion and what?
Let me roll back up.
And an indoor pool.
So I think general vision, and meaning long-term, whether that's 5 years, whether that would be 30 years, is it a and an indoor pool with no plans for expansion or growth, essentially making that outdoor pool that we currently have, doing something similar indoor and making it in that mode, or that not really expanding or no plans for growth for it? Or is it something that's more like an aquatic facility to serve the regional community and facilitate growth, along with obviously serving the community itself?
So do we want to talk about the aquatic center individually and then the swim pool separate?
Yeah, we're talking about the aquatic center, you're right, not, at this point, not the pool yet, right?
Not pool.
Not the outdoor pool.
We could probably
yet.
touch on that after, just to see like, hey, based on whatever that vision is, what are the next steps for the outdoor pool as far as short-term and long-term? That could be part of the end of the conversation, I think.
Can you say
Let me start off, and then you guys can expand from here, but just with the work that I've done, and granted, it's not fully comprehensive. I know there's areas there, the deep end of the pool we discovered wasn't in there with the diving board. I fully recognize that the HVAC system is going to be more complex, but even with all of those taken into consideration and the long-term vision, I think that this is part of a long-term vision. It gets us a pool, hopefully for quite a bit less money than what the $9 million project is. It could possibly free up funds for doing other things on the site. You know, the sites that we have to pick from, I think, are from 10 acres to 56 acres. So we could do a recreational area, ball field, soccer field. I envision, you know, some type of maybe a small concession area that people could go and enjoy the day. But it also, you know, I think will free up money to maybe at some point build another pool. At 9 million, what we've got, or 13 million, however much that we could actually squeeze out of everything that we have. I just think it's prudent to try to do a nice pool, something the public can go to. It can be expanded on with another facility. I'm not sure that we really need a lazy river in the aquatic center. Operational costs, I think they have them at $400,000. I don't really believe that at the size of pool we're talking about now, or the scope of the project that we're talking about now, would be a $400,000 operating budget. I think we can do better there. I just think there's a lot of benefits to doing this, and something that we could get started with fairly quickly, and using the, you know, checking with the designer that we have now to see how feasible it is for them to transition from what they have been to, you know, this building, a common size building, 140 feet. I still think it's important that we keep it under 12,000 square feet. That size of metal building, if they can move into that, and you know, it shouldn't be too much problem to redo a HVAC system if they've really come up with what that HVAC system is going to entail for this project that was on the drawing board. I think things can be, I think you can shift gears and get it done, and I'm not opposed to using the same outfit. They put a lot of work into it, as long as it falls into a, you know, a reasonable cost.
If I can chirp in, we did bring the plans that they did already, that we've worked really hard to do, and they do have the HVAC system, like you
Yeah.
were saying. It is a detailed system,
Yeah.
so they're, I don't even know how many pages are there.
It's
Quite
a
few.
big, it's a
It is a big plan.
comprehensive
They've
set of
worked a
plans.
lot, and put a lot of detail into the aquatic facility.
Mhm.
And did I hear you right, Bill's plans included in that, or?
Are included in the public packet. I believe those
In
are
the public packet, those are the ones
These are
from the
not,
designer,
there's
right?
no way I could have done those in one.
Correct?
Yes.
And Bill, I pardon me, I wasn't here for the last meeting, but would we still be able to build that family portion, phase 2, onto the existing building that you're talking about?
What do you mean, you mean the lazy river?
No,
Well, it's
without the
more
lazy
than-
river, I'm
Leisure
talking about a
pool,
kiddie
family,
pool
yeah.
and a.
Yeah.
Correct. It's more than just a lazy
wading
river.
pool for-
It was a wading pool that was shallow depth, It was a couple lanes as well as the lazy river, and then it was also the area where the slide was coming into the facility. There should be
I
drawings
think,
of some.
there's potential to either add on to it or stand alone. Bill, I mean, you're basically building another pool. It wasn't tied to the original pool.
Right.
So if you use another metal building, I'm sure you can do that. That would be maybe part of their idea. But I would like, I think a complex would be nice to have. My main goal was to try to get something done, a pool, as quick as possible.
And we're gonna have like day rooms and banquet rooms?
Nope.
No.
Not on this one?
Not with Mr.
No.
Director Victor's
Did you
plan.
see it? You have it.
No, I have it right here.
That's.
I looked at it.
There's
I
no,
just-
it's
so
a swimming pool.
I never got a chance to quiz you on it.
Yeah, it's just a swimming pool. I suppose where you could move some of the bleachers and add a room or two, but it is just a swim pool.
Okay.
I guess that's all I have. So,
Fair.
ideas?
I was just going to throw up, we did throw up on the board, kind of that comment. If you look at it, it's 3 models. One, starting with President Vickers, the indoor swimming pool, less than 12,000 square foot, mainly focused on being able to provide that as the amenity itself with, I think, bleachers, obviously all the necessities for the family, the bathrooms, I think
Lockers,
the
showers.
lockers, all the things normally for it, but not the party rooms, not those aspects of it. In the second model, which we're calling Phase 1 of the Aquatic Center, is very similar to that, plus a little bit of the party rooms, I believe. Is that correct? Or no?
In Phase 1, no.
Phase
It would
one,
be the
okay.
locker rooms, the changing rooms. It'd actually be where the blue section is.
Gotcha.
You'd cut it in the middle there, and you'd remove the blue section, and then that would be built onto the facility for a Phase 2. Yes, sir.
Cut it right here?
Yes, sir.
And this is gone too?
No.
No, that's
That is no.
These are the locker rooms.
Yeah.
So it's just cut right.
And that's about a little over 12,000, a little under 13,000 square foot. It's almost similar to what you're describing, I think, with a little bit of preparation for the expansion, which is Model 3, the Phase 2, which is including the leisure pool, the party rooms, the things that we originally de-scoped because we wanted to fit that $9 million budget. So that's kind of the difference between those.
But we are looking at bleachers for events and stuff like that.
I believe so, yeah.
Yes, and
Did-
pull-out
Did I
bleachers.
see concessions in there or something?
No.
No concessions.
No concessions? Okay.
I thought maybe at some point you could do a concession outside. The whole driving factor was to keep it from being sprinkled under 12,000 square feet.
So if I shortened up kind
I'm
of.
all for saving some money. I mean, we can always add on down the road in the future.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, sorry.
So, yeah.
The kind of where we've come from is that I think they imagined originally that 18,000 square foot building and facility, which included everything that essentially you're seeing on that. Then recognizing that the costs were expected to be higher than 9 million, that budget number came in, bringing us down in scope, but with the plan to prep it so it can expand once the money is available. What we've talked a little bit about, but we haven't really talked with the board, at least about this aspect, is that there is the potential to accelerate to Phase 2 now. Well, now as in when we do the project itself, rather than phasing it. There might be the funding available once Tabor is complete, once we've had enough, with years successful of the general fund being sustainable, to be able to actually fund the entire project in theory. And that's what we're also expecting as far as the conversation, because we want to understand what's the full vision of the board, so that way we make a plan for it.
So I'm all for going with what you got, or either drawing that line and going with the basics. Okay, save money. At the same time, the public's got to understand, you're gonna have access to a pool 7 days a week. So, being indoor, it gives people more time to maximize that facility than a seasonal pool outside, so.
Oh, but you got.
That's a perk right there, just having it 7 days a week.
What you have to understand, Greg, is that the CHOP, if you go with the original designer's plan, if I'm not mistaken, they've estimated that at 9 million.
Yes.
No, I understood that.
So
I like your
we can
design.
do
I'm
something
just saying.
almost the same size for, I'm thinking, 5 million. And that's, I think, is, because there's almost 1 in 5, 1.1 million built in, my figures, so, and like I said, it's not,
Right now, we're
it's not
close-
written in stone, none of those figures are written in stone, but subcontractors did look at them and gave me their ideas of what it would cost, so there's obviously some fudge factor there, but.
So I think we can definitely achieve a swim pool facility for under $6,000.
6 million.
I mean, $6 million, thank you. 6,000 would be great, wouldn't it? Let's give the people what they want, what they voted for, and since the other one's incapacitated at this time, the exterior swim pool, we're still waiting for things on that. Director Vickers, are you satisfied with the timelines that on test holes and soil samples and traffic monitoring, so that way we can figure out which site we need to select in a timely fashion?
What, do we have an update on those, or?
Yes, we do have an update on that.
Good.
Did you want me to? Know that?
Yeah. Sure.
Sure. So we, Asenza Architect will start. Actually, they started today lining it up. According to what they will provide is a geotech borings and laboratory report, coordination with geotech to conduct the soils reports, review of the soils, provide a cost estimate for each of the 2 sites, provide cost estimate for phase 1 of the lap pool. They will provide a cost estimate for phase 2 of the leisure pool. And their timeline would be 9 to 10 weeks. So they would be done by November 17th.
Yeah, that's what I read and what you sent out too,
So-
I just wanted that.
That's exactly what I have.
Okay.
Present that to the public so they know too.
So if we're, if we're contemplating changing directions, they don't need to come up with a cost analysis for that project.
That would be correct.
They, for the,
For the.
The geotech-
The phase 2, is that what you're saying?
yeah, or if we're going another route, even that project is not, that's not what they're gonna be building, so they don't need to do the
Okay.
engineering for that, or cost estimates.
Yeah, we
I would think we need a soil sample with the data on compaction, expansion, what the soil is like. That's typically what they're trying to figure out, is whether it's expansive soil, what it's like. Then that engineer would design for that specific project, whichever way the board decides to go, for that project. I don't think, what's their, what's the name?
Asenza.
Asenza needs to go to all that trouble to do that.
So you've already, I think, been provided the soil analysis, just the soil sample of it, when we did the 5
No.
tests?
No,
No, that hasn't been done. That was for the other site on Spalding.
on Spalding.
You're just talking about the design review then?
They did
for that
a,
specific
they did
design.
We did
a overall
Topsoil.
look of the soil and what they thought was underneath the ground, but when they'll actually run a bore,
They're boring it.
Yeah,
they'll bore it, and then they'll test it for compaction and expansion. And
Correct.
Exactly, that's what I was talking about. And then the traffic monitoring, that's gonna tell us, well, do we need extra turn lanes, or how are we gonna modify the pavement areas?
That'll be the county, right? Once we select a
Right.
site, then
That
the
is
county will
correct.
do
But we gotta
a
select,
road
we gotta
study.
select that one site
Right, we need to-
out of the 2 that we have with the soil sample.
With the
We
fourth.
can't really move forward it
Yeah.
until the board selects the site off of the soil sampling.
Correct.
Which one they would like to choose.
That's what I'm,
Do you know who they chose to do the boring? The geotechnical?
I can't
work?
remember if it did or not.
Kumar,
From out of town?
probably Colorado Springs.
Okay. Nobody local gave a quote for that? Because I know we've got 2 or 3 soil engineering firms that can do that. I mean, they're boring test hole.
Was it one?
Do we have a cost on what they said this is gonna cost? How much?
You mind coming, putting you on the spot? I do want to clarify, because regardless of the geotechnical full report that comes with the analysis, it's probably going to have to be able to evaluate a aquatic facility, whether it's that full scope or not, And I think we came to the original soil now, just the site visit, essentially soil analysis, to say these are the sites and here's some different ones that we think the board might be interested in. The board asked these 2 sites to do a full soil analysis for, and that's what our next steps were.
And all that entails is boring. You bore down, you get a soil sample, and you test it.
Who's gonna, go ahead.
So we did go out for some quotes. I think we requested 3 or 4 other quotes outside of the Essenza. All of them came back higher except for one, and it was marginally lower than the Essenza quote. However, I think I probably disagree on the cost estimate, because I think you want to get a comparable cost between Site 1 and Site 2 to see the magnitude of difference in cost, rather than saying, well, I've read this report, and I've read this report, and it seems like this one's a little bit better. The cost estimate will give you, how much better is it? Is it $10,000? Is it $100,000?
Yeah, that cost estimate comes from the excavator.
That cost
He's
estimate,
provided-
cost estimate will be coming from Essenza's design team, and trying to estimate based on, what is designed right here, what is the relative cost between the 2 sites. Even if you don't build this particular plan, you will see a similar proportion of costs on something that might be a little bit different.
An excavator can do the same thing.
I disagree.
Based on the report.
I think.
How can you disagree? Because they have to dig that hole, they have to excavate before they can even figure out what's down there apart from the boring sample.
But the excavator is going to be given a set of plans designed by the Essenza team, the structural engineer, to tell you what foundation system is going to be needed for that plan. And that includes, do you need to over-excavate, bring in select fill? Do you need piers? How big is that system? That's something that I think only the structural engineer that's on the Essenza team is going to be able to tell you.
I disagree.
I disagree with that, too.
Can I ask-
It makes sense.
Yeah.
I understand what he's saying. In order to give you an estimated cost of what the total project will be, the engineer will have to see what the plan is to, what are you putting on that land? Therefore, what foundation do you need or is required in order to make this work?
Well, if you're using them as the engineer, I thought they were the design team.
The design team
hire the
consists of
engineer.
many
Well, we can
different
hire the
elements.
engineer.
It will include your geotechs, your surveyors, your electrical engineers, your mechanical engineers, your structural engineers, your transportation engineers. There's a whole team behind the architect that is assisting them in putting together a set of plans. That is typically how a project like this works.
So I'm just going to say this one thing. I'm just looking to have amenities for the community. That's my primary goal. Whether it's the aquatic center and the 2-phase plan, or something cheaper and building on a different type of facility rather than the phase 2 of the original plan. The question. This is what I see in our community. The community is polarized. Yes, there's a majority of the community that wants a pool, that wants an indoor pool, a year-round facility that they can use, but not everybody. So is it feasible for us to take a look at, can we build the pool cheaper, still have a year-round pool, and then build a recreation center right next to it or something like that to satisfy the rest of the public that don't want the pool? So I think if you're looking to please the entire community, you have to consider the cheaper option so that we can use the rest of the money to create those amenities for those that don't want the pool. Does that make sense? So
I agree, and we want to do a great facility.
Yeah.
And we want to do it cheaper, we just want to do it right, so
Yeah,
that
no, I
it
hear
does
you.
last our community for a while.
absolutely.
And as long as we take everything into consideration when building, that would be great.
Yeah.
We'd love to provide for our community. That's what we're here for. That's the
Absolutely.
directions we follow.
Yep.
So
That's all I'm looking for.
that is what we're here for.
I don't see where the designer needs to be involved with the test holes and the soil samples being evaluated. He's basically going to take that information and he's going to engineer what needs to be put in place in order to support a facility like that. It's no different when I built 3 houses that had basements, whether it was 2 in Pueblo or 1 in Penrose. They dug the test holes first, and then it went to the architect with the plan we had, and he had to come up with a foundational plan in order to support that structure.
Yeah,
So
and that is the plan here
I
as
think
well.
we're
There's
looking
no
at the
change.
finest finishing holes that can be dug at the highest cost possible by going, well, what's the name of the company, Syntec? or whatever?
Cinsa.
But we went out for quotes and it was a $500 difference for who we
How much is it?
responded. 11,000?
11,000.
For 2 test holes?
No, so.
That's what he said
the
earlier.
Geotechnical tests themselves, Asenza was at $7,110. I believe the second company came in at $6,600, but that was just the geotechnical itself. The component that actually gets us some dollars and cents in order to make a decision, this site's better than this site, and to what magnitude, that comes with the cost estimate.
And what does that run us at, in addition?
I think that was,
I think that was the difference of what made 11,000.
yeah,
So
it
about
seemed to me
40.
like that was $2,300. Now, we can tell them, let's limit our cost estimate to only the foundation system. We can do that. Because I think that is essentially the
Right.
change between this site, and this site.
So they need to know what foundation system to go with.
Based on the soil warrants.
Well,
we're taking.
whether we're going with this project or we're
Or
going to
any
go with
other
another project.
That's correct, yes.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. If we go with a different project, if we go the alternate route, they don't need to design for that because we're not going to build that.
And that's what we wanted to have a sense of kind of do is turnkey and create information for the board to make a decision, but make sure it was usable no matter what direction we went. This plan with the plan that you proposed, Director Vickers, or some other plan that comes up. This information will be universal.
The only specific thing I want to kind of touch on, because I know there's a lot of conversation that goes around it, I'll throw it out here like this. President Vickers, you went out and found somebody who then either yourself, you found other quotes to get to that, or that person who was planning it did that himself. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Asenza did the same thing. with people-
Not the person that was planning it. I
Sure,
did, I did all
okay.
that.
So Asenza, as the architect or the design consultant, does the same thing. Whether it's a structural engineer, whether it's any engineer, they're going to go out and find those quotes and get cost estimates back. All those are cost estimates based on hopefully professional opinions that provided, this is what we think based on the information given to us, this will cost. They're just opinions. At the end of the day, whatever the board sees as the vision of this is the design, is going to go through that same general process of here, gonna hit that. Here, we have this design. We have a designer who completes it, so it's an actual set of designs, and we're going to put out an IFB saying what construction general contractor can build this, and then they're going to bid based on all the information there for the lowest cost, regardless of these opinions, regardless of these opinions. Contractor's going to come in and say, this is what I can do it for. Obviously, we have to vet to make sure they're not
Right.
including something. So regardless of, we think this design comes in more, this design comes in less, it's going to follow that same process. It's just a question of, do you want the design to be, to the second question, a specific budget with a value, as much value as can be provided in that budget, or do you just want, when we put that out for IFB and the designer has this in mind, they design it for what is the lowest cost you can successfully have this building built for, hopefully last 30 years, 50 years, whatever it might be. These are the minimum requirements for it. So regardless of who's doing it or not, or the opinions we get from any team, it's going to go through that process.
So here's what I think. If we did in Asenza and switch directions and said, okay, we want to go with an 85 by 140 foot building, design it based on a building that we can purchase, then, you know, not a custom made steel building. They design it based on the soil samples. They design the foundation for it, the foundation system for it. They design the HVAC system, draw the pool the way we want it, locker rooms, everything. They do that design. But that's where they stop. Then we do an RFP for general contractors to give us a price on that building without any preconceived notions of what it's going to cost based on Incense's ideas.
The invitation for bid and the results from that is your contractor's bid.
Right. But I'm saying that independently of them coming up with estimated costs. Because we want the people that are actually bidding on it to give us the cost.
Sure, you're going to get the actual cost from the IFB, the cost estimate that they will provide, the opinion of probable cost that they provide here in the next 9 or 10 weeks is for informational purposes only, for the board to make a decision.
It's just so that way we know what to budget for, to make sure that, hopefully we don't have to have a budget amendment when it comes to that project specifically. It's not something we have to put as part of the IFB, or say that's what people have to bid to.
So you have to have, according to accepted government accounting practices, a budgeted amount set aside in the budget to get a quote,
I'm sorry?
and that's what we'd be doing.
Budget amount to get a quote? For what?
The cost of that, the cost of the aquatic center. You don't have to assume how much it's gonna be. You're gonna get that price from the general contractors, then the board can decide if they want to spend the money or not and allocate budget money for that.
So what I said specifically was budget amendment, meaning if you only budget for the quote, for whatever you think it's gonna cost, and that number's higher, then the board has to do a budget amendment to make sure that we have the funding available for that project.
My question was, why do you have to budget money for a quote that you're not going to necessarily spend?
Because if you approve the project, let's say it's $5 million, but you didn't, are you saying the quote coming in for?
After all the contractors bid on this, the general contractors bid on this, and you get, anywhere from $3 million to $7 million, then the board picks that, the amount that they want to spend. Then, it's not going to happen this year probably. The budget can, I see, so then you would,
Yes,
then you would amend the budget for
And it just
the
creates,
following year.
more process.
I see it. All I'm saying is I want to isolate what the contractors come up with. I don't care what the Asenza comes up with.
Sure.
And I think that is a bias that then kind of skews the whole thing.
But in the past, if I could speak, in the past, the board has asked, how much is this going to cost? Well, we go to the designer who tells us, they're the professionals, and that is what we bring to the board, is what the board has asked. How much is this going to cost? And that's why you see that in front of you, like that.
And I understand that. I want to change, I want to see if we can't change the way we do that. That's all.
So just for everybody's awareness, I know that I presented the 2026 CIP, I believe, at the last board meeting. Normally, we get with district staff, the departments, and they tell us what their needs are. What are their projects? What pieces of equipment do they need? And we prioritize them. We then go out for planning purposes only, for budgetary purposes only, get opinions of probable cost and quotes, so that we have an idea of, okay, this is your want, this is your need, this is what it's going to cost. How much of this can we fund in 2026? Right?
Gotcha.
Now, you guys approved the budget, including the CIP. We then go out for actual quotes, actual invitations for bid for the contractors to bid on, and we award to the lowest responsive bidders.
So theoretically, we could approve the budget of $6 million for the aquatic center this year.
And change it.
And then if it comes in lower, there's no budget amendment.
Correct.
And if it comes in higher, there is. But we could start the ball rolling at that point.
Yeah, and I don't want to clear, there's nothing contract or staff or cost-wise that is slowing down the aquatic center. It is just a fiscal responsibility when we've talked about the strategic plan 6A. It has nothing, there's nothing otherwise holding it back.
Okay, so
Do you guys have anything to add?
the soil samples, you're telling me that's gonna change how the designer is gonna approach that job? He needs to know the job first, which design we're going with first before we do the test holes?
Not necessarily. I think that we could go ahead and get the boreholes. I think there's 4 on each site that we're planning on getting. Apply it to this particular set of plans because it's what is available. And you can kind of see, well, based on what we know right now, this one is marginally more expensive or it's a lot more expensive, right? And I think that that's the information that you guys need to know. when
But
you
the
say-
soil itself isn't gonna change.
No.
Okay, the design, whichever one we pick and choose, is what he's gonna design the pool for,
It
along with
could.
the exterior structure.
It could.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is we need to make that site selection beyond the 2 that we have already chosen based upon preliminary historic soil samples done in the past in those regions. We came up with 2 sites based upon size, amenities, and the soil samples as they were depicted on the media here. So with the soil samples and traffic monitoring, we'll know how much it's going to cost to improve the roads coming into the center, right? One may require less than the other, so that's a less expense. That's part of the decision-making process. The soil samples is going to help us finish deciding we're going to go with site 1 or site 2. So in the meantime, we can figure out which plan we're going to go with, 1, 2, or 3. Okay? So I just would like to see the soil samples, the traffic monitoring, the utilities estimate or improvements that's going to be incurred so we can make a site selection at the earliest date.
In regards to a traffic study, I think you want to try to select a site. Now, we already know the Assembly Drive site will have some significant traffic-related improvements, roadway improvements, based on what Pueblo County has required when Soccer House was going to subdivide. We know that those are going to be significant. The John Powell, we don't know yet because we've never proposed that to Pueblo County. We don't have a traffic study there. So those will be something that we will be looking at. I don't know that you want to do those things now because they do have cost, but I do think that you want to get the soil samples and the relative construction cost in order to determine which site might be better, and then say, okay, we recognize there's some roadway improvements here. Should we analyze those as well?
Yeah, I would like to see the soil samples go forward at an expeditious rate. We're 9 years in arrears since the Tabor taxes have been collected for this project. We're behind our power curve, and it's going to sunset next year. And the general public sees that we're gaining traction and moving on this project. They're going to be more likely to approve a Tabor tax to maintain an aquatic center and stuff. So how do you feel?
I would like to see the board make a decision on what type of building you want. You want to do this one, or you want to go with to try to do it more cost effectively? And I think that's the direction that they need so that we can kind of move forward, and if Sensa can work with that 140 by 85 ready-made steel building, and I think we need to get together and get a scope of work, like what do you want the building to look like? Give them some direction. Do you want windows on the south facing, exposure on the side so that you get some passive solar? You know, we need, I think, get some input into that, but I think we need to start moving. Personally, I think we can do it for less, and that's the direction I'd like to see us move.
What about you, Rodney?
I'm in favor for getting something started myself. I mean, obviously, we want to do this with the best economical cost, and we can still, I believe, do phases where we do this building and get an aquatic center, something for the public to utilize going, and then in the future, we have room to maneuver, which is why we chose locations for something else, even if it's attaching a wade pool for children, that's an indoor wade pool for children, or maybe we can put a little bit in the design that he gave to us or something, just to get something moving. I just don't understand why we've requested a soil sample back in June, was it? And we're just now saying we got another 9 weeks to get another soil sample to get it. It just doesn't make sense to me how we couldn't have just put this out there and got somebody back. If we went off this design is more than what Bill's asking for. This design would tell us if it's suitable for what Bill's going with, right? Because of the foundation situation, I would assume, because that's a bigger foundation than what Bill's going with. And not only that, I would assume that when you get a soil sample, they're going to tell you what can and can't be put on there, not just because of the design you have. They're going to say, hey, here's the soil sample. These are the estimated type of foundation that can be put on here. And I don't think you have to have a design to say what kind of foundation can be put on something. It does help, but I would assume that they would know and give you the estimated design or foundation that's approved for the soil that they have done the samples on. Again, it just seems to me like this has taken a lot longer than I think it should, but again, I don't know. I want to move forward with something and get something going. I don't want to be too hasty either. Again, we come up with some other ideas to maybe facilitate what he drew in there. Because I think there's concern for younger children not being able to use the facility in a wade pool or something. Maybe we look at adding the wade pool into his facility, cutting somewhere a little bit, making a little bit of compromise on that. But I'm good for moving forward with something a little less spendy and getting the public where they need to be, where they'd like to be.
If you don't mind, I'll take ownership for the delay. It was very much staff reached out as soon as the conversation came. I think it was June or July, I forget which month, the J's give me. But they asked Ascenza originally to see, hey, what would it take for the timeline? There was some delay on the response back, whether it's vacation or just not in. And I don't think we caught that it was taking that delay right away. And that's when the conversation came about, should we get 3 other quotes? Is there a timeline? And then at that point, we had their response and started moving. So that wasn't malicious, that wasn't intentional to delay anything. That was just what ended up happening. I apologize.
I wasn't trying to insinuate.
No worries. I just want to make sure.
So I would like to make a motion that we move forward and select a plan of action and a set budget, okay? And then set dates and deadlines for other items that need to be covered, test those soil samples, traffic monitoring on the selected site as you recommended, depending on which site we choose. So.
Is there, Bill, for your plan, is there an opportunity to expand it?
I wouldn't see any issue with trying to tie into an existing metal structure, no.
Okay.
So I thought where we left it last time is that we were going to look at what Bill's plan was missing, and therefore what additional costs we would have. I thought that's where we were at.
So I did do analysis, so we did take a look at the differences for them, but they're not itemized to show exactly what might, for instance, HVAC, what is the difference for that?
I reviewed all the itemization again.
So we can see the comparison of the total opinion of probable cost for each of those, and there are some differences towards it. I think the biggest factor for, I think a concern that we might have brought up was the MAC code. Modern Model
Aquatic Health Code that
Thank
has
you.
been adopted by Pueblo County
That's an
in
okay.
2022.
That's an additional code applied for, in this case, aquatic facilities. It's actually CDC guidance at the federal level, and then local governments can approve or have that adopted, and we found out the Pueblo County has. So a question which any designer is going to hopefully be professional and be able to answer is, as they look at all the required codes for it, tell you how much it costs for what that is. I think the important part about President Vickers' proposal, or the differences between the two proposals, is going to be a question of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the goal for your alternative design is find the way to satisfy it at the lowest cost to be able to do that. So if every single person comes back and bids, let's say $6 million or $7 million and says, yeah, that's what it's going to cost to build, I think that's still going to be meeting your goal of the lowest cost with everything that the scope of work would otherwise say. So I think that second question I posed tonight about, is it intended for the lowest cost, like that is what we want to give the architect guidance for what they're designing for, or is there a set budget because we want the highest quality product that we can afford in that? That's intended to answer that without going into the specifics.
So your second question dives into two of our mission statement points, right? So fiscally responsible and community driven, right? So cheapest would be fiscally responsible, best value to me would be community driven. What's the biggest bang for the buck for the community?
That's a good way to phrase it, yeah.
So again, I'm just looking for, with Bill's presentation, it was eye-opening that, hey, we could potentially have a facility for $4 million cheaper than what we've been talking about, potentially. Granted, just looking at the plans, there's stuff missing. We don't have an equipment room, and I'm sure there's others. We don't have the party rooms, right? Things like that.
Well, no, we're missing like the dehumidification system,
Right.
and then waterproofing all the metal, because it's a metal building. You'd have to waterproof because of all the vapors
Yeah,
and stuff within
you
a
get
pool.
icicles. Yeah.
Yes.
That was my biggest question about a metal building to begin with. But so assuming those additional costs, does that take it from $5 million estimate to $9 million feasibly, or are we looking at $6 million, $7 million, $6.5 million? What are we? What's realistic?
I don't know that I can answer that question, because
Yeah, and that's what's difficult
that is
for
my
us.
thing. I don't know that I can answer that. The Asenza is to the MAC code.
Mhm.
So, we'd have to look at it, and then.
And I think that's why Bill's saying, okay, so if they draw up these plans and we can use these plans, that's fine.
They're pretty close to what Bill's plans are, just a
Right.
little bit of change, it's a little bit smaller, absolutely, because he would like it under the 12,000 square foot.
So is it an option to have the prefab building for the pool and then add on additional buildings, or does that,
Yes, that was
would that
That was
extend
our-
the 12,000 square foot rule? Because it's a
Yeah,
different
if you
building?
if you add on and you increase the total size, then you're going to sprinkle it.
I do want
Okay.
to point out, at least from Asenza's cost estimate breakdown, the Fryer sprinkler system for phase one was $61,000. That was not an astronomical cost compared for that. I could share at least the sort of left to right comparison of Asenza and I'm gonna call it Vickers, just for the alternatives, and all it will show is the cost breakdown, as much itemized as we can find. Ultimately, the only thing I can answer to your point, Vice President Axworthy, is can we get this cost down? I think the question that we would ask Asenza, assuming that cost is more priority, lowest cost for this essentially a similar design, will be can you source this with different materials or different things that will help reduce the total cost of the construction. But I think when it comes to the
For the-
HVAC, the plumbing, the dehumidification, those are the concerns where I don't know if we want to find always the cheapest solution when it comes to that.
Yeah, most
and
sustainable.
Yeah.
I get you.
The big concern, at least in the local community that's come up, I think it's the municipal court building where they had their 80,000 square foot building. They had, I think, planned, improved, and designed or constructed in 2013, and its HVAC system is failing because it was designed under what it should have been to be able to serve that. Now they have an $8.8 million repair and installation, I guess, or fix essentially for that. So obviously, I don't think anybody wants that, is to be in a situation where we're 10 years later trying to fix something. So that's the only thing. I can't answer whether just giving them the guidance like we want to reduce costs, give us what you can as far as a total cost that will bring it under. So that way we can still maintain a 30 to 50 year life cycle for an aquatic center or that phase one pool. That would probably be the question we would ask them, assuming that the board's response was we want the lowest cost. It's not just, hey, we have $9 million, we want to spend it, give us the highest quality product. Feedback to say, get us closer to as low as it can cost while being fiscally responsible for the long term, not just everybody enjoys it for the next 10 years, but for the next generation. I know that didn't answer your question.
So-
but
No,
it's-
I understand where you're going.
The HVAC system, I think I had 230,000 in there. If you went another 500,000, I had 568,000 in contingency, so that would be covered.
The only concern that I had was the water vapors and
Right.
the waterproofing of all the metal.
Yeah, and that would be certainly taken care of, but it's, if a sprinkler system's 61,000, it's not
$4 million.
61,000 to paint it, and that's all you're talking about is paint that waterproofs the material.
Where are we going galvanized?
That's not what I understood.
I don't know.
That's not what I understood, that they were just gonna paint the stuff. They actually have to encase them.
Would you have to paint if you went galvanized?
Encase it?
Like,
Insulated, right?
what, say that?
Well, it is
Insulated, right?
Yes, like insulated,
Because caustic.
not what, excuse me?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
More like insulated than just painted. That's how I understood.
So if you like, I can go through a quick, here's the
Oh,
main
sorry.
tabs
Yeah,
of the difference
that's
of cost. No worked existing structures, not talking about that. The shell differences, and these are rough figures, I know, so we met with President Vickers last week. Just to sit down and talk, and knowing that he brought that forward, wanted to talk with him first. But the shell on Ascenza's is about 1.1 million, and I call Bill?
Yeah, call me Bill.
Yeah, of course, 400,000. The main difference is in the superstructure, which to that point, if it's a pre-engineered metal fabricated building versus one that's specifically designed, there could be obviously costs associated with that. Interior, not much of a difference. There's 503,000 with Ascenza, 375,000 with Bill's. The mechanical electricals were the most significant differences. That is 1.5 million for plumbing, HVAC, fire protection, electrical, with HVAC and electrical both being about 600,000. So it's 1.5 total for Ascenza. It's 460,000 with what we got from Bill's. Minor equipment and furnishing. Another of the big changes was the big differences was the special construction, the lap pool itself. You had the 600,000. Understanding there was a little bit difference.
It didn't have a deep end.
Yeah, but even I think cost estimate that maybe million.
Even if you went to 700,000.
Sure. Whereas Ascenza's is 2.1 million. That includes some of the equipment that comes with it. They estimated at 2 million for the pool itself. Looking at it being a very
Yeah, I
flat
remember
$2
that.
million, that might be an overestimate, to be fair. Like, that might be higher based on what they either haven't foreseen or they don't know the specifics required for it when it comes to the engineering, when it comes to whatever sites it's on. The site and landscape's actually pretty close. Site for Ascenza is 1.525. On Bill's, it's 1.425. But the subtotal is about a $3.6 million difference in the two. So the question that comes from it is basically the HVAC, the pool, or sorry, not HVAC, the mechanical and the pool, what's causing those big disparities for it? And I don't have the answers to that, I apologize.
So, but to your point, at that, once we get the finalized design, whether that's it or whatever, we take that and we go get our own contracting, contracted bids for each of those entities. So
there's a motion on the floor for something.
Motion on the floor to select a design and cost. To me, the lowest cost and the soonest availability of completion time and serviceability to the community is imperative, considering that the Tabor tax sunsets in 2026. We'll be back on the ballot.
You have to remember, it's about the 6A fire tax, not just Tabor.
That's 4 years. That's 4 years from 2026. That's 2030. It's
But
already
if that
there.
does not-
It's already there. It's already approved.
But if it does not pass,
Now we're using the crystal ball as an estimator.
you don't understand. If the community does not move forward with making that tax permanent, then that's a $5 million hit?
$3 million.
$3 million hit to the general fund. That would
No, I
take
understood
away
that.
services from other departments.
It possibly could, yes.
It would.
But we just don't know what the future holds.
But the
But you-
Tabor fund and the pool is voted by the public. That was already voted. It wasn't in lieu of anything else other than, hey, we want a pool based off the Tabor tax fund. So that's an elected thing. The voters voted for it regardless of how many did or didn't. The majority ruled on the pool, and the Tabor thing and the 1% wasn't a thought process in their mind. So where do we stand if the fire department doesn't happen or the tax doesn't happen? That's irregardless of what the voters voted for. I mean, I'm not trying to, but it's what the voters asked for. Again, I wasn't for this pool, but the situations have occurred, and I found out with the other pool situation, we got to do something that the public asked for. And we're, again, obviously it's 9 years down the road because you gotta take time to build up the money and infrastructure for it, but it wasn't in lieu of anything. It's a voted. And as much as I understand we want to proceed with the 1A, or excuse me, is it 1A?
6A.
Sorry.
6A.
6A, sorry. The 6A, I don't think it has anything to do with the pool because it's a voted issue. That's where I stand on that.
And there's $3.8 million in the Tabor, right, in the Aquatic Center Fund, so, I mean.
More now, right?
And then we had savings.
No, there's more.
A little bit more.
Well,
Yeah.
okay,
So
so.
Because of this
4
past
million?
audits here.
6.1.
Yeah, we're closer to
Restricted committed
4.2.
assigned.
Yes, so the only difference is restricted is the Tabor, committed is the MJ, assigned is anything assigned to it. I'll get the number.
And Conservation
So we got
Trust has been
1.3 from the
13.
C, the roads, and then we saved 304,000, I think you said, from the golf course.
Right.
So restricted is 3.8, that's Tabor and CTF. 1 million committed, that's the MJ excise, that brings us to about 4.8. And that's as of 2024 end after the audit. That includes that 1.8
After the
that came
audit,
from it.
okay.
Then there's the additional previously budgeted and assigned 1.2 that brings it to that 6.1.
So
Not
you're-
talking about other
you're well
funds.
within, I mean, I think you're well within what it would cost to build that thing with just dedicated pool money.
So just to definitely respect the point as far as Tabor and 6A, they're not intrinsically tied together in any way. For a little bit of context of, that vote was passed in 2016. In 2018 is when we got the fiscal sustainability studies saying that 2029, the general fund for the district was going to be out of money because it couldn't afford to continue fire, streets and roads, and then build a pool and try and maintain it. Some decisions were made, 6A being one of those, to help bring in a 1% sales tax to fund the fire department and its growth. And now the reason, and this is more for the public, I know we've talked about this a lot, but more for the public, the concern is that if we get to the 6A sunsetting, the difference, the deficit that the general fund's gonna have to take on is about 3 million, which it probably won't be able to sustain without cuts somewhere. And the question and concern of the Aquatic Center is it's bringing on, the construction cost isn't the challenge, it's the operating cost. If we expect the revenue to be under expenses, which most pools are, and we're estimating somewhere between 200 to 400,000 per year of a loss, you're adding that on top of that $3 million deficit. And even with some balance of funds that have become more available for it, it's probably still a cut in services. So if a fire station's built, Aquatic Center are built, and one of them has to close down, the question is, why did we build one if we figured it was have to close it down if we couldn't operate it?
You always have to consider housing costs. If housing costs drop, then the property tax revenue decreases. So you have to weigh all of that. It's not just, hey, we want a pool, let's build it right now. It's not that simple.
It's not that simple, and sometimes voters don't take that stuff into consideration when they're not on the inside of some of the things that we discuss, and I understand that, but we still are we're now at at one of those 6A doesn't have anything to do with the pool. The pool is a standalone issue, and I understand future situations may occur, but unless we get the approval, again, go back to the voters and said, you really want this pool, we're obligated to do something to move forward with the pool regardless of what happens in the future and operating costs. And that's why I'm saying, if we get a pool going and show that we are breaking ground, we can offset some of that stuff if Tabor sustains itself at about $500,000 a year plus that we've gotten. We can use that as a, hey, we'd like to extend Tabor to indefinite to help offset the costs or run the facilities of this pool that you requested, that the community requested.
I definitely respect that idea of the showing progress, showing the construction, showing that helps with the general goodwill for it. The only thing I think might be important as far as the funds, they are used for that sole purpose of the community pool and aquatic facility. It's not requiring the board to build that based on the ballot language. But to your point, if we don't build it, that money does just sit there, and there is no other use unless there's another ballot initiative or it's given back to the voters. So definitely respect it, but that's fair.
Can I also, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Mr. Roberts, I know you're new, but I know you keep saying it's a 9-year project. We didn't see any funding coming in until 2021, so we can't really do anything if we don't have no funding. So that was a big why it has been slow is because we didn't see any money until that time, and we can't move forward on a project if there is nothing there to move forward with. So I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that as well.
No, I didn't say it was a 9-year project. I said it's been 9 years since it was approved by the voters.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
misunderstood you.
The dynamics of the economics within the Metro District since 2016, okay, was explained by Christian at the work session. And I understood that and kind of challenged it a little bit, but it is what it is today. So we're at this venture where we got about, what, 3.8 of...
Well, 6 million.
6 million. Like I said, we saved 1.3 with the ICA roads, and then 304,000, and then there are some other funds there. So I want to see us move forward. I want the community to see that we're moving forward. The lowest cost, soonest availability, completion, time, and serviceability to the community is going to say a lot come December of 2026 when the initiative goes back up for a vote.
Can you clarify your motion? You said pick a project.
Yes, I want to
steer us in the direction.
Correct. I wanted to make a motion that we develop a budget for our swim pool plan, and that we choose a plan so we can move forward and get the test holes done so we can make site selection between the two that we have narrowed it down to.
Well, let's be clear what you're talking about, though. You're talking about taking the $6.2 million that we currently have set aside, no more, and using that money to build this indoor pool.
Yes.
Okay.
So
be more
I would be more specific on the
parameters.
The parameters,
With a clause in
we can't build that for $6
2026 that we
million,
can.
so you know that. Do we need to explore whether we can build the alternative for 6? But, we need more direction.
So my hope with those two questions that I posed is that it will help, that's the instruction we need. What's the ultimate design? Might be
That's
the
what we need.
alternative,
We
might be
need to know
that.
where you want to go.
And do you want us to guide, or in conversations with whatever design firm, in this case Asenza, or if they couldn't do it, we would look at a different one. Do you want us to design it for the lowest possible cost? Do you have a specific budget in mind for what they could do? If those two questions are answered, I believe we'll have the direction, begin working with Asenza on any changes that need to happen, and then move forward.
We need direction to tell them where to go. I mean, to pick a plan doesn't move us forward anywhere. So either we're going with that plan or we're going with an alternative plan.
I'll make a motion. Can I do that?
No.
He's gotta finish.
Are you done with yours? Or are you can retract it? Can he retract it?
We can retract it.
Okay.
Let's see what Brian's got there. It's either yay or nay, so.
Yeah.
Make it good.
What is the difference between the 6.2 million and the, we currently have roughly $9 million saved up?
What we were about to put in the budget book for 2026 was 10 million, but 9 million was the original budget number. And then, just for everybody's awareness, the 10 million came from, as we were looking at the future full design of it, we were thinking of starting to grow towards that. Then we recognized afterwards the historic document was that 9 million. I think that's part of why they designed it as they did. And then, just to be clear, it's, I think about it, I'll double check, but I think it's about a $6 million total cost, but then there are contingencies associated with design, construction, and overhead. I'll get that here in a second.
Okay. I make a motion to utilize the currently set aside $6.2 million that's reserved for the indoor pool in addition, setting aside the additional $3.8 million for Parks and Rec projects and facilities in the future if the 6A fire sales tax is made permanent. So I make a motion to utilize the $6.2 million reserved for the indoor pool and set aside the additional $3.8 million for additional Parks and Rec projects / facilities if the 6A fire sales tax is made permanent.
So that could be an expansion of the pool.
Could be expansion, could be a park, a recreational facility.
Could be a merry-go-round.
My kids love merry-go-rounds. I'll second that.
Okay, have a motion seconded to. Motion seconded to make the 6.2 million reserve for the indoor pool while setting aside 3.8 million for additional park and rec projects, facilities if the 6A fire sales tax is made permanent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, I want to give them a little more, I'll make a motion that we head in the direction of the proposed steel building, pre-manufactured steel building as outlined in my plan, I don't know, however you want to say it. That's the direction we head with Ensensa.
No, Asensa.
Asensa, taking the information that they have, modifying it for the 140 by 85 building, and that the
Include the waterproofing?
be like, yeah, it's going to include everything.
They'll have to do something to get to that 6.2 million budget.
Sorry, is your motion? I wanted to.
Help me.
I'm sorry. Go for it.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, understanding that motion, or even understanding the kind of direction from the board thus, it would probably be likely that we would take, looking obviously they provided a design for it, is taking yours and saying, this is what that model could look like. We're looking for something as close to possible that meets all codes, all requirements, all costs.
Absolutely.
And if it comes down to, they come back and say, we can design it, we feel, or their opinion is that it will cost more than that, the only question would be, what do we do then? Because again, it's just going to be their opinion of that cost. They could still design the facility to be as low cost, and there could be review processes, whether with the board or with the committee, to be able to ascertain that. But the question would be, if we get that feedback, what do we do?
I still am of the opinion that we let the people that bid on it come up with the price for us.
Gotcha. So not ask them for costs.
I
just
wouldn't ask them.
here's-
That's my
here's
opinion.
The design.
That's mine too.
Provided an alternative design. Please model this as close as possible, understanding all the codes and everything required for it. And if there is, whether they come up with, all we have to do is adjust these small things to get to what that looks like. And there's minor differences, mostly cosmetic. I'm assuming that'll be okay to come back with the board. If there's major ones of like, no, we can't do, it says in this one, and we can't do that because of X, Y, Z code or what it is, then we would probably come back to the board and let them know. Just to add to context to what we're taking direction based on if that's approved.
That's fine. I don't know where I'm at with that motion.
I apologize, I thought you had it, that's why.
I'll make a motion that we move in the direction of the proposed aquatic center alternative that meets all the requirements and standards necessary for a public pool. Does that sound okay?
I second the
so.
motion.
So use the plan that,
They made a motion. So
Oh.
let's
Let's
vote
vote.
for it.
I'm sorry.
And it was seconded.
I second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now,
What's your question?
go for it.
I just want to make sure I am understanding correctly. We go model the plan that you have, Mr. Vickers, but we can move things around in your plan to meet.
Whatever codes are necessary, the MAC codes.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
No,
I just want to make sure I understood that clearly, that's all.
That plan is all up to
Okay.
code.
Yeah, $6.2 million, I think that's the
Great.
point.
Yeah.
Got it.
Just to be clear though, we're not going to know whether it's going to be 6.2 or not.
No.
Correct.
Maybe
Until after
less.
the IFP 's
Correct.
complete.
Maybe less.
Could be less, but that's what you have at most.
Yes.
Then that
Including
ties
contingency.
to, they don't need to do any soils foundation construction estimates for that, right?
those
So
ones.
now we're just gonna do foundation soils and apply the new building to that, those standards.
So right now, our quote was for the geotechnical investigation. I think, listening to the board, you want to do that.
Mhm.
You don't want to do a cost estimation to determine, what site might be more advantageous and understand what the dollars and cents are. My understanding is you do not want to do that.
Well, I'm not understanding why that is such an involved process, once they get the report on the geotechnical report. I mean, if it's full of shale, just for an example, if it's full of shale or bentonite, they should be able to say, this is gonna be more expensive than this piece of ground doesn't have that.
If you're comfortable with saying this is more expensive than this, rather than saying this is $10,000 more versus $100,000 more, we can do that.
Well, but you're not understanding, I don't understand. It's gonna be more expensive if it's full of shale.
Sure. But to what
I don't need to
extent?
know that, I don't need to know that it's $10,000 more.
So, yeah, I can.
You know what I mean?
I think so, because I think if it, I think if it was just that matter of it, you would just know, okay, this one is more expensive.
Right.
But if you compare it to other costs associated with each site, for instance, the road improvements, is it hundreds of thousands of dollars more expensive for this site, but it's I'm throwing numbers out there,
Yeah.
$200,000 more less for road improvements, you'll have at least a figure to balance against what those other costs are.
But he told us that the county's gonna do that after
Correct.
we select the site.
Two separate, well,
The county is going to
Traffic
instruct
study.
us to do a traffic study to determine what the road improvements are.
We're not gonna do 2 traffic studies, right?
we can, correct me if I'm wrong, we can get a somewhat, it's rough opinion.
Sketch plan review?
Yeah, of what those improvements are and estimate if there's a significant difference of, are you talking about multiple lanes, multiple traffic signals,
Yeah.
something to that? And then be able to get a kind of ballpark figure of, okay, this is gonna be 100,000, this is gonna be 10,000. Again, just numbers.
But that's not
That's not
a
anything to do with-
census job.
No, not saying that. I'm saying a census providing, now this is gonna only cost 10,000, but it's 100,000 for the road, and this is 5,000 100,000 for the soil and the foundational.
I understand.
That's just adding to the overall context for the board.
The comprehensive plan, including the road study, I get that. Yeah, we wanna know which one's gonna be more expensive to a degree, right? I mean, but there may be an advantage to the location.
Ultimately, it'll come down to the board. This
Yeah.
was just intended to give another line item of here's a cost comparison.
Yeah.
So that way, when you add those things up, is there a significant difference that would guide the board to one decision or another, if that's fair to say?
We want those at the earliest possible moments, though, correct?
Well, we can't, right, you do. I mean, you want to do it as quickly as possible. I mean, there's no dragging the feet, but.
Yeah. And is there any, the timeline, the work, the already on the ball is already rolling. It's just, now it's in mid-November, I think is the date. Are there any concerns about that at this time?
Well, I don't know.
I think come mid-November, we're in the holiday season, it's gonna change up everybody's schedule. It's gonna.
Well, I mean, they're going to move forward with the plan now, right?
Yeah.
So
They're moving forward.
they
Yes,
can be,
they are
they
moving
can be
forward.
working on that.
Right.
They're just giving us an estimate how long
yeah.
it'll take.
Yeah.
And,
But it's in their hands now, because they're having everybody and scheduling everybody, if I'm correct.
So let me make sure I understand. We're just going to do the geotechnical investigation for right now.
Question being, do we want that analysis for the how much of the soil cost is difference?
That was $2,300?
oh, just for the difference?
Yeah.
2,300? Yeah, okay, do
Do
it.
it.
I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys. Are you okay with that?
So we'll do the proposal as written for the full 11 grand.
Yeah. Are you guys okay with
Is that
that?
right?
Yeah, and that will give us.
But not for that, correct?
Not,
No, we'll give
not
them
for
the
that,
guidance.
for the new building.
Correct.
Yes.
You just need to tell us if we need not to do that, because that's just what we understood and what we're moving
And
forward.
let me make this clear as mud. So what I would like to see in Sensa do is just provide the design and the scope of work. That means, you know, the finishes for the bathrooms, whether they're tile, and that's all in that set of plans, I'm sure.
It is in that set.
Yeah, you know, all of everything that people are gonna bid on, the HVAC system, you know, everything that goes into that building, just the scope of work, that's what we then put out for every general contractor to then take and bid.
Within the budget.
So I want to make sure, and I know I'm going to muddy the water here, is that we're talking about geotechnical right now. Once we get to a point where everybody's comfortable with the concept plan, the soils, the site selection, then we'll enter into a professional services agreement with the Senza to put together the design to be bid, a set of construction plans. We'll be back to the board with that agreement.
That's correct.
Okay. Let's go.
We got that right.
Well, final blueprint.
Don't change anything.
Wait.
Okay.
No, I think that was it. There was something that flew by my brain, but must not be important. Oh, do you guys, a committee, a group of guys, and you want to get together to try to say, this is what we would like the building to look like, whether you want windows on one side, the front of the building, what you want the front, to give them some direction, or are you wanting to just let them come up with whatever design they want to?
I don't know, I'd like to have our input.
Well, according to what you proposed earlier,
Mhm.
was to do kind of what your plan
Okay.
was, and you had a picture of it.
Well,
Am I right?
I had several photos of buildings, but.
Correct.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, maybe you want it to look a little different. Maybe you want a porch, a portico, maybe you don't. All I'm saying is it worthwhile to get together as a team to say, we would like windows on the south, when you're incorporating this in your design, we would like windows on the south for south-facing exposure. Maybe not, maybe that's a bad thing in the summertime. So all I'm saying as a team, to get together and say, and you might say, I would like the front to look like this.
I think once we get to the point of a professional services agreement, we could have a kickoff meeting
Yeah,
to discuss
that's a
preferences,
good idea.
options.
That's a good idea. And have as many board members, if it has to be a meeting, it has to be a meeting.
Yeah. To that point, I was going to just say, as a model, the 3 ones is, you know, completely remove board as far as, hey, give guidance to staff, these are the things we do want. As long as you meet those, and staff follows through, staff follows through. The second option, committee, usually 1 or 2 board members, hey, we look to make that a little bit easier accessibility-wise. That way it's not a public meeting, not to, you know, not make that transparent or share information, but just because it's easier to coordinate. Thereby, those 2 board members are on a committee and they have a discussion, and the third option is the full board, essentially saying like, hey, anytime there are those scopes or conversations, we bring that to the board to have conversation. Those models have been used in the past. So to your point, I think as team, based on that updated or the PSA, we can then have that conversation. The board give direction how they'd like to see their involvement or give direction to staff.
Okay.
Fair?
All right, is it clear?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. All right. Now, discussion on the follow-up regarding the 63 East Spalding Access Control System, presented by Greg Roberts and Christian Hine.
Okay. I had talked to Bill prior to y'all's last meeting, and also to Rodney Potter here over the phone individually, and there were concerns that there were not key cards made for the directors, and I was just, what was the motivation of the security system being put in place? I'm sure there was an issue that came up, nothing specific was disclosed, but at the same time, we feel like we were excluded and the president was locked out of the White House.
I did say that.
I did. He did. But, so, where are we at right now, Christian?
Sure. So last conversation, Director Potter brought up the concern of the communication and the reasoning behind it. I think we talked a little bit about it, but just to fully disclose, all our buildings in the district that are owned by us, so some exceptions with 356, this one, we don't own this building. They typically have key card access and usually public enter by either ringing the doorbell or some kind of similar device towards it. So once we purchased 63 Spalding, the question came up, do we model that exact same for all the others? There was conversation about timing, should we wait, should we not? Ultimately, I made the decision and approved, hey, we are going to move forward with it. This came after we heard some concerns from staff. Some were very, hey, it does not bother me one way or another. And there were other staff who had experienced, whether it was our finance team who sometimes stay late and somebody may forget to lock the door, or somebody coming out of the front reception area may leave. People would come in, they would wander the halls. Both wings were open, the front door was open. There wasn't, when we didn't have control of the building, there were access control concerns. So we just modeled after that. And I recognized there was a difference for the public and for board members and for staff all around to experience after that, not knowing the background. So I brought up, or I apologize as far as the miscommunication, not informing the board of that decision or the transition towards that. That one is on me for letting the board know that there was going to be that change. I didn't recognize that would have that impact, knowing it was just modeling our other facilities. And there are specific concerns I can go into. Some of them are a little bit humorous, some of them are less humorous, but there were specific security concerns for people, either past employees or the public, who could access that facility anytime, and it became a lot harder whenever there was a key control, physical key control, rather than a badging system. At that same meeting, brought up the conversation about should board members have access badges for it. The only reason I've held off on that is I didn't know if tonight's conversation would change what the physical access security was. If we, for instance, kept the front door open, then there probably isn't that need for the badge access. But if we kept it closed and the board would like to have the access badge, I think it would be prudent to say any board member that would like it, we'd go through the same process as an employee and just issue that badge access and then have the same protocol for it. But I just waited until tonight to make sure I got that guidance.
Okay, so I got one question, I think, and then I got a statement and comment. We have tenants in 63 Spalding? Do we have any tenants in 63 Spalding?
Only employees.
Only employees?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that all the directors on the board that are currently present and in the future are afforded the same security measures as all the employees within the district.
Does it mean you want them key cards?
Key card, yeah.
To just the admin building?
Well, no, that would be access to the water building, which is key carded already, so where you make your water payments in case you can't do it electronically online. Other areas also, which you explained, so the same access that Christian would have, we would have.
But you don't have access to the chlorine room?
No,
right?
I do not. I don't have full access to all facilities. I can get into essentially most of the either public facing, the fire station, a lot of those facilities, but I think I'll share pretty openly and publicly. I used to be a physical security officer. Good physical security practices mean that you don't give access to anybody who shouldn't have a routine, normal use of that access. Just because I'm the head employee in the district does not mean I should have access to all things in the district. I think I made hopefully a humorous point of it.
This is in regards to just 63 Spalding.
Okay. So yeah, just for the public, the idea of me going down to open the chlorine room, the idea of me accessing the fire medical supplies, that should not happen generally by myself. There should always be somebody else there. That's just good physical security.
I was just,
No,
I'm not opposed to any enhanced security features. The other thing is was there a public statement made that we've changed our operating procedures and how we communicate, how we deal with the public face-to-face and alerting them that we now have electronic security doors and you'll have to request access?
To be honest, I don't know if there was or if there was even afterwards. I know we posted the signs or said, hey, here's the bell, please ring for access, but I don't know if we made a public statement after that.
It's the taxpayers' dollars, they have a right to know, so it's their building.
Let me ask you this, can those hallways be locked with the, the employees?
63?
Yeah, in 63, the door to the
employee
main
entrances.
offices be locked. And the only reason I say that is, I don't know, it's been a while since I've been into zoning or city hall, I know you walk by, I think in City Hall, they have a policeman standing there. But county zoning, you can open the door and walk in. We have COA, is my point. Really, that's the only access that the public needs. I don't know how much traffic they get. So my question was, can you lock the corridors so that there's either a key card or a combination lock on the door that doesn't allow people to go past where COA is? The courthouse, I know you mentioned the courthouse has security in the main entrance, but you can go in the side door or the back door without running into anybody. So I understand safety concerns, but I also want to balance that with the public's ability to access their government. I don't know how to do that and make everybody feel safe.
Better make everybody happy all the time.
But I do recognize that.
That's fair. I appreciate that. So, yes, in theory, you could. There's one door at one of the wings. There's no door at the west.
Yeah. I don't think
there's no door, so there'd be physical improvements towards that. The only concern, and I don't know if it would trigger it, would be the ADA compliance we've talked about in the past for the building itself. But in theory, if that didn't cost or didn't escalate the cost, so maybe not. Is it okay to offer a challenge of what the perspective is from the other way, as far as the inconvenience for the public, as far as access to the building?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So right now, all that you have to do is go up to it and ring the doorbell, and it's actually buzzed in. Somebody will hit that, and it will open and unlock the door. Now, it's usually 3 to 5 seconds. I do recognize if there's not somebody right at the door or right at the reception, if they use the bathroom or something, there will be somebody else who will have to come out and do the same thing, maybe a 20-second at most. That's the inconvenience we're creating right now, but it has enhanced that security and people feeling safe. So I do appreciate it is a balance for that.
But by the same token, you don't know if somebody's carrying a concealed weapon that buzzes the door and gets buzzed in.
Sure. It's just an extra
you
layer.
can. I get the safety, but you're not going to prevent that unless you have metal detectors and whatever else.
It's that common argument of we know we don't want to do nothing, and we also don't want to make it completely inaccessible that they need a bulldozer to get in.
Right.
There is that balance of where do you find that line. So that would be the question I would ask: is the doorbell itself, the ringing, something that we think is too inconvenient for the public at this time?
I don't think it's too inconvenient. You got a speaker box on there, right?
Yep. I'll double check actually.
Okay. We did the same thing at Sunrise Methodist Church when I was the head trustee out there for 7 years. We included security features with cameras so that way the office staff could see who was at the door because we were having some vagrants come in and just showering and bathing in the bathrooms and leaving the place trashed at all kinds of hours and stuff. No, I'm all for
No, I was going to say you have a motion on the floor, so we can. Was it second?
right. It was just yeah.
Oh, 63.
Access cards to 63 Spalding.
So,
Yep.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I wasn't meaning the whole entire conflict, so I didn't understand that type of dynamics, but 63 Spalding is technically our place of business when it comes to needing to, going into doing something within the board's access ability. Anybody else, I would go through you to say, I want to go over here and check this out, and then you get the right people, but our building is 63 Spalding. In a sense.
No, I appreciate that. And the only other thing I would add is that if with 79's design and intent, that will likely become more the public facing. It'll be it'll be more updated. So as we transition to 63 being more like the administrative annex of it, that keeps things in check. But that 79 building will be very much the public facing one. Appreciate that.
Say the motion again.
I want to put a motion forward that all the trustees, not all the trustees, all the directors on the board of the directors for the Pueblo West Metro District receive an access card to 63 Spalding.
second. A motion seconded.
I second.
I have a motion seconded to issue access cards to the present board of directors and the future directors. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Motion carries.
I'd like a public
I don't want one,
announcement.
though.
You don't want one?
I don't want one.
Fair enough.
I'm fine with it, but I don't want one.
Okay.
Just one more thing to listen.
On that note, I would just say we can coordinate with each of you and reach out and just schedule time to be able to, whoever wants to.
I was just for the record. Did anyone abstain?
I did.
Yeah, you did.
You did? Okay, thank you.
So we'll shoot out an email and just help coordinate so that way we can issue a badge to each who wants a badge. Okay.
We're gonna put a message out to the public, making them aware that
We can
they'll
do
need
that.
to push the button and speak
Yeah.
on the speaker.
We'll let them know that
in order to access 63
access
spot.
operations have changed. Please be aware.
Yeah, and the only reason I was bringing up the Metro District Water building is where you pay bills is key carded, or is that the push button control?
It has the push, so there's two doors.
Yeah,
There's a
that's
key
right.
card door for staff access, and then there's the push button for the public, and they're behind the glass.
Right,
to be able to
yeah.
assist.
So there's been limited access to Metro District property prior to just the 63 Spalding. And that's what you had indicated earlier. I was just using that as an example.
Public comments.
I do have Mr. Joe Mahaney that would like to make a comment.
That's twice.
Actually woke up, that was kind of long rehash of the swimming pool deal. I'm curious, how many of the directors have seen the geotech report for the 63, or not 63, the location down on Spalding for the proposed pool?
Did a couple of years ago.
Did you understand it?
No, I'm not a geologist.
I did.
My opinion as a professional engineer, retired, I'll admit, was it was 25 pages of gibberish making excuses on why that wasn't a good site for a pool. Now, you're going to get the same thing with the other two sites that you pick. One of them might be a little better than the other. That's the best you can hope for. They might say, this is the worst one and the other one isn't quite that bad. You can design around anything. The one down on Spalding, they recommended complete excavation of the site, including the parking lot, and bringing in several 100,000 tons of select fill to replace. And then they came back with a caveat, if you will, that the test holes didn't indicate any water at that particular time. We hadn't had rain for 2 years, but there were shale-bearing things. So when you dig a hole for a swimming pool, you just open up all the shale conveyances that act like water conduits, and you put select fill in, and then you're going to have to put a drainage system around it. The two pools that you apparently are going to consider, Bill's and the downsized version of the Aquatic Center, are basically the same size. So the geotech doesn't have to say, well, one or the other. It's about the same, and they're just going to tell you how much extra it's going to cost to give you a reasonable chance to build a pool that won't fail in 2 years. So let's get on with it. If you had nothing else, take a backhoe out there and dig a hole 14 feet in the ground and then have an engineer come along and say, oh, there's 3 shale layers there. That's going to give you problems. The other one, like Bill mentioned, is going to be pure bentonite. That's going to give you problems. But get on with it. Do
I agree.
something.
We're trying.
But why involve the designers for the old pool to order a geotech thing?
Well, we tried to get away from that. We tried to get some companies to send in quotes outside of that, and evidently nobody did.
No, they got 3. Three
Got
others.
3. They were all higher.
They were all higher. Yeah.
Except one. One was $600 less.
Yes, $500 less, and the only other caveat to that is they actually submitted an incomplete quote and actually had to go back and correct it afterwards, which put them after the bid.
What to put them after. So we tried, Joe. We're trying to expedite things and get things moving.
Well, as I recall, the one on Spalding was done by a local firm, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was
That I don't know.
Jessic.
No, it was Terrazon.
Oh, Terracon.
Yes, them.
Okay.
And they don't have anybody here locally?
We asked for quotes, Joe, and that's what we got back through our project team.
All right.
Well,
Sorry to take up more of your time.
thank you.
That's
for-
all right,
Thank you
Joe.
for showing up, Joe.
We appreciate it.
Next is board member and district manager closing comments. We'll start with Christian.
I do know we did get the updated report from Rocky Mountain Care as far as the outdoor pool and cost. I can send the actual document to the board. We got it this afternoon. I think there were certain line items that they did identify as estimated costs, and then there were some that they identified as no cost estimate this time, or might not. For any time you do a repair, remodel, reconstruction, won't find out until you start digging if there's a bigger concern. I think we averaged or summed up in as about 550-ish.
579.
579,000 for the cost associated right now with what's known about the outdoor pool and repairing it. The major cost of that might be the repair liner, or repairing the liner, which comes with some of the concrete work that's under it. So a question for the board will be as far as any direction, and we can bring it on for the next discussion so we have an item for it.
Carol, can you reach out, or did you reach out to the company that gave an estimate on the pool that I submitted?
No, I didn't. I don't have that information. If
Can I forward it to you?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And for everybody's awareness, I think we counted 6 or 7 that we reached out to so far. In addition to that, most responded, if they did respond, saying that they were not capable of doing that work at this time and either gave a referral. Some of them were out of state, like I think there was one in North Carolina. So right now, that's the limited information. We'll check to see if we can reach out to that one that you identified, President Vickers, and then see if that one will also come in.
Yeah, see if they do.
Yeah.
Some do.
There she goes.
The reason we didn't get some quotes back too were because it was not new construction. Some do just new construction.
Right.
Not
Right.
fixing
They wanna be
what's
liable
there
for- yeah.
and getting into all of that. So that was a big problem as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they love selling product, they just don't like repairing it.
You never know what you're getting into with the remodel.
You're right. And then bringing it up to code.
Right.
Thank you, Carol.
Anybody else have any closing comments? Mr. Pasternak?
No comments.
Mr. Potter?
No comments.
I have none at this time. I'll reclaim my 10 seconds.
Yeah, I know we have the 6.2 million saved and now set aside and devoted to the pool. It was already devoted to the pool, but that's our cap at this point. It doesn't negate the danger and the consequences of what would happen if the 6A sales tax does not pass. I realize it's separate, but there are also 2 large parts of the district that can have significant impacts. So if 6A doesn't pass, then you're looking at downsizing everywhere else. Well, you're looking at downsizing the entire district. I just don't want to put money towards a project knowing that it could not be fulfilled. That's my point, and that was the point of the fiscally responsible piece of the strategic plan. It would be my hopes that we, instead of trying to push something that's number 8 or 10 in the strategic plan forward, let's try to complete the things that are ahead of it, and make sure that the district is sustainable. That's all I have to say.
Forgive me, is the admin building ahead or behind?
It's ahead. It's number 5, where the Aquatic Center is number 13. I'd mentioned in the past that I'd like to see that switched because the Civic Center admin building was not a ballot issue where the Aquatic Center was.
And no,
And that would be something to consider.
Fire department is number 2. So to the point of the strategic plan as it's outlined, all 14 ideally can be accomplished. But when it comes into questions of there are resource challenges between them, the idea of their priority alignment is that number 2 would be number 5 or number 10. Because at the idea of having limited resources in this case, think about the sustainability of the district. That's the resource we're talking about here, is that 6A might be the more sustainable, more fiscally responsible thing to do than building the aquatic center. Not necessarily why they're tied to different ballot initiatives. As far as the administration building and the aquatic center for construction, for instance, it's not that one has to happen before the other or they're necessarily directly in competition. As long as there's funding for both can happen at the time that they can
That's
happen.
what I said before,
Yes, exactly. So regardless of which one they're at, but if it came down to the administration, there's only $3 million, and you have to build one of those. The board at the time, as we discussed, the administration building doesn't come with a true operational cost towards it, and it's something that I think we identified as we wanted. It wouldn't have robbed anything for Tabor timeout for the costs or the revenue built up for that. But if it wasn't feasible to build the aquatic center, then the funding would have been devoted first to the administration building to get us out of leases and get us out of those situations. Just a context.
Yeah, and I think we even discussed that we could probably build it cheaper than what was previously estimated too.
It needs to be addressed to some
You're
degree.
you're still looking at the aquatic center is built, you're adding staff to run that aquatic center, you're increasing your operational expenses. Meanwhile, hoping that the 6A sales tax is permanent.
You know, those are challenges that
Crystal ball.
every government
Yeah,
faces.
that's exactly what I called it, the crystal
Yeah.
ball. I mean, it's like tax time. You're like, am I going to get a refund or not? What does the crystal ball say? Oh, I get the number 8. Oh.
Well,
I think what Bill-
person would plan their paycheck and their W-4 in order to have a tax refund.
I think what Brian's getting at is we should see where the Tabor tax goes on this next vote, and not the Tabor, sorry, excuse me, 6 Alpha goes, and make sure we regardless, we're gonna have to be able to pull, but I think he's right, we need to get the ballot initiative going to see where the public stands on it, and we have time to adjust accordingly. I think I know where you're going with that,
Yeah,
right? Is
so
that what you
I'm
mean?
just saying our
Right.
decisions today have
Yeah.
consequences.
No,
What's the language of the 6A that you're trying to push forward to make it permanent?
To make it permanent, yeah.
Right, so
Right.
if they vote that down, does that mean that we still have 6A until 2030?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're not looking at
And then we can
losing
re-
any jobs or funding until
Right, then we can.
2030 potentially.
Right, and then
But in the meantime, we still have 2 more election cycles beyond 2026 to 2030, okay, if I'm doing election cycle math right, which I think I am, that we'd be able to put that forward again, and the public may have a different vision of it.
Yeah, and I
Right.
think
At that time.
that's their plan.
Right.
Right.
That's what, I agree with Brian on that one. That's what we're planning on doing. We'll see where the public stands on the issue at the moment, and then we can re-engage the public. And if they're not for it, if they are, then no worries.
Yep,
But if they aren't, then we have to find a different
It can be
strategy for it.
readdressed twice more, until
Yeah,
2020.
so, yeah.
So we.
I mean, you guys all know that I
Right.
want more amenities for the public. I've been preaching that for
Yeah,
2 years.
yeah.
But I also want to make sure that what we do doesn't hurt our community.
I
want everybody to
agree.
keep their jobs.
We're all on board with that
I mean,
one.
I'm an advocate for public safety and firefighters and police and stuff, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want everybody to keep their jobs. I want everybody to be productive and, man.
I don't think that that's going to be an issue getting it passed with the, what the public has seen happen with the money, with the additional fire station, and they, feel better about the fire department.
I'm hoping.
I think that.
Yeah, public optics is a
I'm hoping
lot.
that's not-
Mhm.
It is.
I'm hoping. And I get your
Scary-
point.
I don't think it's as scary as we think it is.
It's definitely the hope. 6A, I think, had a stronger showing than 6C, 6A being fire sales tax, 6C being road. The only reason we want to be cautious is that we know 6A, I don't think it was called 6A before, failed once before they found and learned lessons from it, and then they ran it again and then it passed. And there is a concern when it comes to 6C, seeing, for instance, if the fire department is doing well, if it's showing staffed, it's showing the building has been complete, those are positive things to show the community and then brings that public buy-in for it. But obviously 6C is another sales tax that's on the ballot or has been on the ballot. and questions of how that might impact the perception of Balaton in general might be concerned.
So
And the economy's changed.
If you're concerned though, Brian, you would need to stop with the remodel for, I mean, if you really are worried about 6A passing again, then all the money that's collected from now until 2030 should be put in a savings account to sustain the fire department afterwards.
That's been discussed.
You don't do any more, I mean, if this is the fear that you have, you do no more, you know, so there's a lot of moving parts. I can't just say, we got to stop everything because we don't know what's going to happen with the fire. I mean, I just don't think a good government functions that way. I think we can cross that bridge when we get to it, and
have
I think we'll be all
$37
right.
trillion debt.
To that point, we have-
your trillion?
You might have to lay.
we have considered it, and I know there's been conversation around the timing of 6A going back on the ballot. Didn't come this year just because by the time we approved the strategic plan and thinking we wanted a year of campaigning, which was successful in the last time that had approved, we missed that timing for it. And the reason it was a November election and midterm is that's where we see stronger showing of people coming out to vote, and that's usually been aligned with higher approval rating or higher likelihood of approval. So November 2026 was the first. That likely will be our first indicator, and that does, if it fails 4 years, is the time frame before we see it sunset. It's probably going to trigger, and we've thought about this, planned it, the contingency planning of like, okay, now what do we do? We're in 2027, 2028. Are we looking at new projects? Are we looking at personnel? Or are we starting to reserve funding?
So do we know how much a special election is going to cost?
I'll double check the numbers, because I don't know if specifically for the special election.
$98.
No, more than that. It's in
It's
the 50s or 60s at least, or maybe even more.
I know Bree had some numbers
Come
a while
on, Katrina,
back.
Katrina knows.
Katrina knows.
Because we're not going to be able to piggyback on anybody else's, right?
So in 2022, when we did, I believe we piggybacked off of 2 other entities. It was 22,000, about 22,000. Our last election that we ran, there was 2 other entities, and that was for the May election. That was about $65,000. So it is a little bit of a toss-up. I've asked for numbers from the county, and it's really hard for them to be able to give any numbers because they don't know who else may be joining in on the election. And so if it's going to be just us individually during a May election, I would anticipate budgeting at least $50,000, just to be on the safe side.
Well,
If it's steering,
Didn't you say it was 61 and that was with 2 other?
at least 50,000, yeah. So the 2022 election was 22,000, I
But we
believe.
piggybacked.
We piggybacked
But this
off
would
that
be a
one.
standalone election.
It would be a standalone election. So if it was a standalone election, I would probably budget around 80,000, just to be on the safe side.
Okay, so that's what we're looking at in 26. Right. The other thing, I know, you know, we had a presentation for the fire department for the union, so that's also something to think about. I know you've had conversation with them, right? That perhaps they're not going to pursue putting it on a ballot until 6A is finalized. Is that?
At the very least, I understood that they are not going to do it if, knowing November 2026 is our first go, they offered that they would not put it on the ballot before that or complicate the measures being talked about at the same time.
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I can't
Because
speak.
That would really
Yeah.
impact, in my opinion, the viability of the
Definitely could.
6A extension.
The only thing I can't speak to is if they're looking at the May 2027 election. I can't, and we
Okay,
moved, I
yeah,
can't
we
speak
don't know
to if
that
we have to
either,
keep
so.
kicking it out, whether they would continue delaying or not.
I mean, it'd be helpful if they put all their efforts in campaigning for the 6A.
That's their plan.
Yeah, and then that would alleviate any pressure that we've had to potentially discuss union negotiations for recognition.
All right, so where am I?
You're almost there.
Committee reports. I did not make, I was out of town during the August 28th Committee of Architecture meeting. Was anybody there? Donna, what happened?
We approved some stuff.
Okay, we're still moving forward.
We're still moving forward. We did have our first hearing since the due process went into play.
Okay.
It got continued until November, but we are starting to see that due process go back in place.
Okay, thank you. All right, announcements and events. Community Roundtable with Director Vickers and Director Potter this Friday at 5:30. That's
5:30.
September 12th. I encourage, if anybody's listening online, I encourage you to show up and just, let's talk. It's at the River of Grace Church at 84 South Masters Drive. End of Summer Country Jam, September 13th at 4 p.m. at the Civic Center Park. Pueblo West Chamber of Commerce Board Meeting, September 22nd, 6 p.m., 781 East Industrial Boulevard. The 6A Committee Meeting, September 26th at 9 a.m., at 729 East Gold Drive. Fall Fest, October 4th, 1 p.m., Civic Center Park. Halloween Bash Drive-Through, October 31st, 3:30 p.m. at Civic Center Park. And the Holiday in Lights Parade, December 6th at 5:30 at Civic Center Park. Also, I would just like to add that there is a golf course committee meeting.
September 17th at 10:30 a.m.
10:30 or 1 to 2?
It's 10:30 a.m., and that's the Desert Hawk
Desert
Committee
Desert
meeting.
Hawk.
Yes, sir.
Golf course enterprise meeting.
And that meeting's where?
It's going to be in the Pueblo County Chambers.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And with that, we'll entertain a motion to recess our regular session, move into executive session.
You're gonna do it, huh? Sweet.
Make a motion to enter into an executive session, Colorado Revised Statute 24-6-4024E, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, instructing negotiators. 24-6-4024B, Colorado Revised Statute, conferences with an attorney for the public entity for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions, and these specific legal questions are discussions with staff regarding a letter of intent received from the Red Moon, and regarding a letter of intent for water purchase related to acquisition of property at parcel number 602-400014.
A second.
What's that?
You forgot 4A.
4A? At the very beginning?
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss the first page? Oh, 24-6-402-4A, Colorado Revised Statutes concerning the purchase and acquisition, lease, transfer, or sale of any real, personal, or other property interest.
A second.
Okay, we have a second to move into executive session based on the provided notations, and I would entertain a recess for 5 minutes.
Yes, please.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.